Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 296 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I know you're probably wondering, what the hell is this hillbilly doing on here? And that's just fine because Steve Wellings is out for just a bit. He should be back with us next week, though, so I'm trying to help out, fill in as host for the week. We got a lot of stuff to cover, so we're going to have Andy Patterson, Hater Dave Lobeck. We got Oz on the call, maybe some few others to join us here in a bit. But let's go ahead and dig into the fights. So, right off the bat, let's start off with the World Boxing Super Series card from out there in Florida on broadcast on the Zone here in the States. So, what fights did you guys see from that show?
Well, I'll dig in first, I suppose. I've seen most of the WBS card. Suppose Dorico Masternak actually I was actually quite surprised as to how kind of close it was. Dorico obviously he was pushing the action, but Masternak is as we probably said last week, he's always good and tough. That round about European level, and that last night he probably dug in as best he could. I just felt that Dorico was far better, puncher of the two. Push the action far better than that, but you got to give Masternak a lot of credit in that as well. As I says, he did try to dig in. What else we have in that card actually? Rodriguez, Maloney. Yep, as I say, I've seen a lot of comments actually, Gabe, going on about this. Rodriguez actually saying as he'd beat Inoue and stuff like that. Obviously, he's going to have his fans and stuff like that. I suppose he is Puerto Rican, so they're going to have his nut huggers and that. But I think based off that there last night, Rodriguez is a very, very good fighter, but there is question marks regards to the stamina, especially late half that fight. Maloney was really kind of putting it on him. If Maloney could dig, that could have been a far different result there last night. It was quite close anyway, but as I say, Rodriguez probably kind of gained a little bit of a lead kind of early on in that fight. But again, he sticks to the jab and the straight punches and stuff, but I just don't think he can go up through the gears when he really needs to really needs it. And it kind of showed kind of late on in that fight. I think if you look at Maloney as well, as he was working the body, he was getting a few shots off the head and that as well. As you would think, if it's Inoue in front of him like that there last night, you would think that Inoue is going to break him down, especially with the kind of left hook to the body. He was showing some openings to that as Inoue's best shot along with the right hand and stuff. So you would think Inoue is going to go if he's going to have those kind of stamina problems, and Inoue has showed late in fights that he is wanting to kind of put the foot down, like Maloney kind of did in the 10th, 11th, and 12th there last night. You think if he can do that, I think Inoue can take Rodriguez out pretty late in the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the things that I picked out during that fight was watching it. I think in my mind for that part of the series is, well, who's going to be in the finals? I don't see anybody besides Teddy and anyway in the finals for that fight. And I think it's going to be a hell of a show there in the finals. But whenever I was watching the fight, I was thinking more along the lines of what can he really provide past this fight? What is he showing us that he's going to do in order to beat anyway? And I really didn't see anything that I thought was going to be too much for anyway to overcome. Hey Dave, did you happen to catch anything on this card?
I saw the main event and that's about it. But it was most important observation. It was entertaining, good stuff. Again, from the WBSS, it was competitive. I mean, I think I thought that Manny Rodriguez was a worthy winner and did well, but it was competitive, definitely. And this Maloney guy's not just some Aussie bum. He actually, he's definitely flawed. I mean, he's but highly physically trained. Like he can weather the storm and keep coming late in the fight. I just think he's flawed in that his timing is way off. Rodriguez out-timed him, especially early on. You'd see he would pick all the wrong times to attack, and Rodriguez picked the perfect times to attack. Maloney was consistently, even when he started gaining some momentum, looking good and actually getting active, he would get countered big, and then his hands would be at home for a while, and it would enable Rodriguez to steal the round. But I wouldn't mind seeing either guy again. We know both have balls. They're in this WBSS tournament, and they both tried hard to win, despite the fact that the winner is going to be facing Inoue, which is not something you'd see most big name fighters want to do. These guys aren't exactly big name fighters, but I've been a fan of Rodriguez since he had dealt handily with Paul Butler. I always thought he deserved a little bit more credit than that for that fight because he looked very good in it, dominated it with ease. He's a quality guy, and I'm looking forward to this Inoue fight. I don't expect him to win, but we'll see what he can do. I think Andy was saying he doesn't think Maloney can punch. I think a guy can dig a little bit. I mean, obviously, there's definitely levels to power. The guy has a high knockout ratio, but he's definitely fought a lot of his fights in Australia against less stellar competition. But consider the weight they're at. It's like an 82% knockout ratio. That's pretty good. I think Maloney was the puncher in the fight. I think he was hitting Rodriguez with some good stuff too. I just think the Puerto Rican's tough, but you do see that that gas tank as an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I kind of agree with you, Dave. I thought that he landed some really good punches a few times and kind of stopped Rodriguez in his tracks. And so whenever I'm watching the fight, I'm thinking, well, he's landed a pretty good punch here and there, but it just seemed to not be quite as consistent. And I think Rodriguez, to me, in the overall grand scheme of things in the fight, with those straighter punches a little bit more frequently landing, outweighed a few of those shots that Maloney was landing. So really, I mean, I don't have anything to complain about. I thought the whole card, top to bottom, that I saw of it was actually pretty outstanding. Did anybody catch the Mike Perez fight? Anybody watch that one in particular?
No, well, I didn't get to catch that one. I didn't actually realize he was on the card until late. Like I said, I've been away, so I caught up with everything. I thought, bloody hell, it was quite a surprise to see that he was on there. But he's obviously picked up some WBA ranking belt, and I mean, he was involved in the last one as well, wasn't he? The last tournament. But in terms of Doherty, I was pretty disappointed with his performance, to be honest.
Yeah.
I expected a lot better from him. I mean, we've seen with Master Knight, like Andy said, he summed it up perfectly. He's an excellent European level fighter. I think the one thing that helped Doherty was his power, and that when he landed those telling shots, it just pushed Master Knight back a little bit. But in when I felt like he was a real front runner to possibly win this tournament, Doherty, on the back of that performance, I'm not so sure now. I mean, a couple of rounds in it, 116, 112. Yeah, he probably deserved the win. But again, I was a bit underwhelmed by it. As for Rodriguez and Maloney, what a good fight that was. And I say it all the time, when they're evenly matched, unless there's a horrible clash of styles, it usually produces the goods. And I think Maloney surprised a lot of people, to be honest. I've seen all too often, like unknown Australians of sort. Usually, campaign around. You first see them, like at the Commonwealth level, particularly in the UK. And they've not done that much. But I was impressed by Maloney. And to be honest, whilst I felt Rodriguez by 2 rounds was probably correct, I can understand why one of the judges awarded it to Maloney. And I don't think people would have been crying robbery had he got that decision. So I think in terms of Maloney, this guy is legit at world level, because Rodriguez, for people to be saying he's now the person to beat Inoue, which is a huge statement. A huge statement to make. Absolutely massive. He may well go on and do it. But for me, I saw him getting tagged all too often. And I think if a power puncher like Inoue, he will just exploit that. And unless he's got a granite chin where he can just take those shots, and we'll then have to see something a bit different from Inoue, I just can't see him. I can't see him being able to take the power. But that saying, I think it makes for a brilliant, brilliant fight. And once again, you've got to applaud the format of the World Boxing Super Series for producing these fights, because I think, if we're being brutally honest, would we ever see Rodriguez and Inoue if it was just, a regular match to be made? Probably not, unless somebody was putting millions of pounds on the line, and there's just not that cash there at those weights unless it's for the tournament.
I think Rodriguez could probably give Inoue problems early with the jab. I think he can be open down the middle. As I say, we've not really seen much Inoue this year, in a defensive sense. We've not really seen if he's had any more adaptations, any more improvements, because he's just only had 40 seconds and 2 fights or whatever it is, and that, so we don't really know where he's at. One thing I would want to mention about Maloney, though, it's maybe just a wee bit kind of deceptive, is his power. or maybe they're off, is before last night, had 17 fights, 14 knockouts, or 14 stoppages. I didn't think last night watching him, as Ozzy says and as I says as well, as he's landing shots, but it didn't look like there were shots that were actually kind of hurting Rodriguez. Maybe it was enough to kind of slow him down a wee bit, but it didn't look like to me he was a big hitter. So maybe at a top level, he's just not got the power.
Yeah, that very well could be. I think we see that a lot of times, domestic levels and so on. People seem to have some power, and then they step up a little bit, and you fight the top-notch guy, world champion, and you see that the power doesn't really carry over. So, I mean, I think you're right. It could be. Yeah, like you said, I think they're fighting. They're fucking professional prize fighters. So, you're going to get hit with a punch now and then that will push you back a little bit and keep you honest. Even from some guys that are pretty light-handed top punchers. So, I think that's pretty accurate. So,
and he just doesn't want to give a Puerto Rican fighter credit for having heart.
Oh, come off it. I did say he was decent. You fucking. I'm trying to keep it clean tonight.
We're gonna make sure that we note that and put that on our history books. Andy is now a Puerto Rican fan. So just in case you guys missed any of the
NUA smashes him, like I can't wait for that.
Just
funny way to be Dave. If
we had Maloney. Sorry, we had Maloney winning one card, 115, 113. The other two were the exact opposite, 115, 113 for Rodriguez. If you're going to watch any fight off that card, I would suggest that one. Dordikos won his fight, 116, 112, and then two cards were 115, 113 for him. And that was one that I felt, during the fight, I thought, the way that the fight was carrying on towards the end, and really Masternak was landing punches up the middle. I thought, it really was pretty close. And honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised to see any score that was a little bit closer or possibly even a draw with the way that he was landing punches up the middle. But I think in the end, they gave Dordikos credit for early round winning and hard, solid punches. Because whenever he landed, he landed solid and you could see it. Mike Perez, the Cuban, won 97-92, 96-93 on two cards. So all in all, the cards were the fights were pretty close. And we were talking about Mike Perez, maybe some people not knowing he was on this card. He's actually an alternate. So if in that cruiser tournament, if somebody gets injured and has to pull out or whatever reason, my understanding is that he's going to be the next man up to take whatever comes up. And even if he's not, if that doesn't occur, I still think that we're going to have a pretty good chance of seeing him fighting the winner of this tournament at the end of it. If we can't get Usyk to fight him, or if Usyk moves on up to heavyweight, which Oz, do you think that's a possibility that we see Usyk move to heavyweight pretty quick?
100%, absolutely 100%. What essentially, he's got the Bellew fight because it's a big moneymaker for him in the UK. I think he wins that comfortably. And then in reality, what business does he have left at cruiserweight? He's won all the belts. He doesn't need to beat anybody else because he arguably beat the number 2 and 3 ranked in Brady, San Gassiev. Put them whichever way, whichever way you want. And then I think it's a case of he'll go straight up to heavyweight and start making his challenge on fighting the likes of potentially Joshua, Fury, Wilder. Obviously, they will sort themselves out further down the line, but I think that's the right thing to do for Usyk. What's the point in him hanging around at cruiserweight after this? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Is the Bellew fight officially at cruiser?
Yeah, definitely. It's for all.
It's for the belts. Right?
Yeah, it's for all of the belts, and which is fine. Like I said, it's a moneymaker for Usyk. It's a big fight for him. Bellew, whatever we slag him, is a big name now, particularly off the back of those David Haye fights. And like I say, after that, what's the point in him hanging around? There isn't one. So we'll go and see him up at heavyweight, and like I say, I think he'll definitely cause some problems at that weight. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw him against Michael Hunter up at heavyweight, with Hunter saying he's a new man with the extra weight on him. I wouldn't be shocked to see that, and it wouldn't be exactly the worst test for Usyk because he's essentially fighting a guy similar size when he's going up. Could be wrong, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw that, to be honest.
It would also keep him away from Joshua, which Eddie wants, of course, and it would give Eddie a chance to say, well, look at my guy. Usyk can beat the guy who beat your guy, Bakoli.
That's what I was going to say, actually, because Usyk's with Hearn now. You just wonder if he's going to make it in-house, White, Miller, Chisora maybe.
He's going to wait till the last minute to make any of those. You can be sure.
Something to kind of maybe break him into heavyweight. But yeah, Hunter seems pretty feasible. But then again, I did say last week he's really not really got any business up there. So you want to see him kind of come back down. I mean, I really do think he could maybe make a run at a title. Obviously, no with Usyk being at cruiserweight. But I agree with Oz. Apart from the winner of the tournament, which involves likes of Vlasov and Bredis, there's nothing really apart from Bellew, which is a big money fight by the looks of it, that's going to keep him there at the weight. So it's going to be heavyweight next for Usyk after this.
And just before I think we've probably wrapped up the Super Series card for this week. There is going to be a big pullout coming up. Can't say what weight yet in sworn to secrecy, but yeah, keep an eye out, and it will be a bit of a shock.
Yep.
You heard it here first. Big pullout expected for the World Boxing Super Series at some weight. Well, I think since we did that one, let's go ahead and go over the ESPN card. Sure, some of you guys probably watched maybe a bit or piece of that. From that card was a pretty I thought it was a pretty good card, to be honest, from top to bottom. Of course, it's kind of the standard stuff that you see. You get some prospects and some higher up names there on the upper part of the card. In case you didn't see anything, or maybe you guys didn't see anything, if you want to jump in, feel free. We had David Kaminsky. He's a young prospect, and he moved to 3-0. Vladimir Nikitin, who is famous for winning or getting a decision, rather, in the Olympics over Michael Conlan, was in action last night. And this was all out in Las Vegas. We had Joseph Adorno. Any of you guys familiar with Joseph Adorno?
No.
Nobody's got him yet. He's a prospect. He's a younger guy. I think he's had about 10 or so fights, and all wins by knockout until last night. Been to the third round once, been to the second round once, but everything else was first round KO. So the kid looks like he has some power. Pretty young still. We'll keep an eye out on him. Moving on up, though, to the card where probably most people started at was Michael Conlan taking on Nicola Chipoletta, 8-round fight. Who saw that one?
Yeah, I saw Conlan, and I think it was his best performance to date, to be honest. I saw an interview with Adam Booth earlier in the week, his trainer, and they said that they've been working on a hell of a lot of stuff. And I think we saw bits and pieces where it really did transpire into his performance. And I was impressed because I've got to admit, I've been a bit underwhelmed by Michael Conlan. He's burst onto the scene after obviously his amateur background, and people have said, he can win a world title in like record time and things like that. And I think when we saw him, I mean, people were even talking at the Carl Frampton fight, and when Conlan boxed in Belfast, I've got to admit, I watched him and I thought it was pretty poor, to be honest. But on this performance, I mean, his level of opposition wasn't brilliant, but again, he is still an experienced, and I was impressed. I was really impressed. And like I say, I think it was his best performance today. I like the way he picked his shots. He seemed a lot more composed, planted his feet a little bit as well. And then, so it's going to be interesting to see where they move him next to. Booth was talking about how he's basically ready for a big step up now. I think he's going to box in the UK on the Frampton undercard, actually, in Manchester. So that would be interesting because Booth was talking about a big title fight for him. So I don't know what route they're going to go down, whether it'll be a potential like Commonwealth belt or I don't know what he can go for. I don't even know if he can go for the Commonwealth belt. But yeah, so I don't know what they're going to look for him, but it's going to be interesting. But no, I enjoyed Conlan's performance. I was impressed, and like I say, fingers crossed now he's starting to come to the way Booth works, and we take it from there, and we only see the best from him.
I caught the main event.
That was the most. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to talk about the main event. Why don't you go make your point?
Well, I was just going to say, I thought that was the best I've seen Michael Conlan look as well. He looked like he was sitting down, putting a little bit of mustard on his punches, and he moved well. Looked like he really looked like he'd matured a lot over, earlier on. I'm kind of with Oz on this. I haven't been all that impressed by anything that he's done so far. But we're talking about a young guy, and I get that. He's not a complete package yet. He's not quite ready to go full steam ahead just yet. But I think it was a solid performance too. So if you're looking to see what Michael Conlan's got, if you haven't been impressed, this may be a fight to watch to show you a little bit more maybe of what he can do. I think with a more solid opponent, we're looking at a guy who's going to be pushed a little bit harder and probably would be a little bit more enjoyable to watch. Excuse me. His opponent was moving throughout the night, but he did a good job at points of cutting the ring. And like I said, I was impressed by how much he was sitting down on some of his punches, because he really put a little bit of mustard on stuff last night and rocked this guy from time to time.
I've never seen the fight, but do you reckon that, obviously, I remember we had Mick on the podcast, I think it was last year, maybe 18 months ago, and he was talking about Top Rank's plan was to try and get him a world title fight by next year, 2019. I mean, he's not had a 10-rounder yet. Do you really think that they're going to push him that quick for a world title next year? Considering that the weight that he's at is actually under the... I think is he still at bantamweight, yeah? I think he is.
He's scheduled to make an appearance on the big Frampton-Warrington card.
So he's up at featherweight?
He's at featherweight.
Right, so... I'm just wondering if they're going to maybe make that Nishkin fight anytime soon then, because I think Nishkin's up in age. No, Nishkin, Nickton. He's up in age, 28, 2-0. I don't know if they make that fight anytime soon. That means you just don't know if their paths are ever going to cross. So maybe make that fight. It's maybe it's probably the ideal fight for maybe two to kind of go up to a 10-rounder.
I don't want to say that far. I think it's poor. I don't rate that Nickton anyway.
No, I know, but
there's a story behind it. That's all.
I'm not want to be having Smith talking about stories now, but I just think it would be a bit of kind of Colin can go in there and do the business. It'll be a wee bit of kind of vindication for him as well after what happened in the Olympics and that. A bit of history kind of written off there.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Well, I think in the post-fight interviews, he was talking about getting pushed up to some higher-ranked opponents. He wanted somebody in the top 10, 15. I don't see him quite being ready for a title fight unless he fights quite often next year, maybe by the end of the year, depending on how often he fights, so on and so forth. But I would look more for 2020 before I gave him a fight if it was me being the matchmaker. Dave?
I think there's a good chance of that. Just to finish on Conlan, I think there's a decent chance of that Nickton fight happening. Bob has previous for that. I don't know how much Bob is actually involved in the promotion anymore, but if you remember, Oscar De La Hoya had that guy who beat him a couple times in the amateurs, and Bob, the guy did not really have any pro credentials, but Bob threw him in there anyway, just to give him that revenge factor, and Oscar tore through him.
Well, I think he's done that quite a bit. It seems like a bit of a blueprint. Like you said, he did it with Oscar. I know that earlier on, Cotto fought what was the gentleman's name? Some guy that beat him in the I think it was the Olympics, matter of fact. So that may be a little bit of a blueprint. And Todd DeBuff doesn't seem like he's too far off the things that are proven to be somewhat successful in selling some fights, no matter what level they're at. Even if it's a low level fight, you still want to sell it some way. And so I think that would be a good way to sell another fight for Conlan, is saying Olympic revenge opportunity, so on and so forth. So next on up that card was the fight that I think a lot of people were surprised about. Ryota Murata and Rob Brandt. And this one was for the WBA regular title, whatever the fuck that is, middleweight title. Murata looked like he struggled a little bit.
That's an understatement.
Say again?
I see, that's an understatement.
He got his ass handed to him.
I think I watched about 9 rounds of it. I was absolutely dog tired. I stayed up kind of too late last night, so I was watching it back today. It's actually surprising. His comments that he's admitted himself that Brandt just made him limited. That's exactly what he's made to look like. I don't know if anybody remembers when Murata turned pro. One video kind of broke just before. I think it was just before his pro fight. I think it was one of the top ranked cards that were holding, maybe in Macau or something like that, possibly. And it was odd. The first time I've ever seen it happen, actually, it was like you got an Olympic gold medalist, and his right hand was so far off his chin, in a defensive sense, was that they actually had to tie his arm and his fist to the right hand side of his face so he could get himself kind of used to it. Last night, even in the inside, he had no in game. He couldn't change it up. He's admitted himself that he knew he was going to lose the fight. It felt like Brandt could tell straight away what he was going to do. He's just kind of he's just never kind of really kind of progressed for me in the pros, Murata. And then in the end, I really didn't care what to make of that defeat to Jurgen Bremer. Now, I mean, there's a guy who's a light heavyweight as such, who hasn't seen super middleweight in years, looked death on the scales, looked even worse walking to the ring, and he gets tooled by Bremer, and then reverse the situation. You see what we get. It's just it was an absolute upset. And to be honest, the way they're talking now is obviously Murata's talking about rematches and stuff like that. But I just thought that that Brandt, I wrote him off. I've got to hold my hands up and say it. But he just made. I agree with Murata saying he was made to look limited last night. He's got to go away. He's got to kind of improve. But the main thing he's got to go and do is he's got to go away and do some studying on his opponent, because last night he had absolutely no answers to that. When I woke up this morning and seen those scorecards and stuff like that, I had to go and check it out, because I'm saying to myself, it's either been shocking scorecards or he has been easily handled, and it transpired that it was the latter.
Yeah, Dave, did you catch this one?
Yeah, this was actually entertaining. I mean, some of the rounds were competitive in that it was like a lot of punches exchanged, though Brandt did earn those wide scorecards, and he won almost all the rounds, even though they were still had some decent action in them. I was taken aback by how healthy Brandt looked. He looked like he was carrying the weight well. He didn't look drawn. I'm talking about in the fight, because I didn't see the weigh-in or anything. But he looked good. He looked strong. He kept the pace up for the full 12 rounds. He did appear to tire a little bit as they went down the stretch, which enabled Murata to get into the fight somewhat. But Brandt really kept up an excellent pace. By the end of the fight, really, Murata was so battered that the shots, the combinations were snapping his head back like a Pez dispenser. He just got hit over and over again, and he was spot on. The hands were way down, miles away from his face, and he just got hit with the same stuff over and over again. By the end, once he started, even after the first round, his face looked like a mess. His nose was messed up. He was bleeding. He had swelling. And it only got worse as the fight went on, though I think his corner did a fair job of managing it. But the more that swelling increased, the more Brandt was starting to able to be mixing the things up. He got the hooks in instead of just the straight shots. Late in the fight, he was leading with hooks and landing them, and that's bad for a top professional, a guy who really tore through Endam. I was pretty impressed with that second Endam performance. I didn't think he won both fights, but the second one, he looked like Asian Golovkin in there. So certainly can't judge him off that fight, because last night he looked like Golovkin versus Andre Ward would have looked. Just got battered. And I don't know is he having trouble making middleweight or what? Because I think maybe the size was a factor there down at middleweight. He could actually use it to his advantage. Now he's the little guy just getting pounded on. He was in good shape because he lasted the distance and was still throwing and still trying late. Had the engine, but did not have the skills, not even close. And good for Brandt, because we saw him fail pretty significantly. I mean, it was a convincing loss to Bremer. But I mean, I don't want to make excuses, but you never know. Maybe it was the fact that it was his first time on a big stage, the first time in with that level of opponent. I did think he looked unhealthy in that fight too. Maybe he didn't do the weight well, but then Bremer never looks healthy, so God knows. I think he clearly got old man in that Bremer fight. But last night he was the boss, and he came out confident and looking to set a fast pace, and that's what he did. I don't think there was really any moment where he was really not in control of the fight. Do you think that perhaps after seeing him in against Bramer and knowing that he lost pretty convincingly and didn't have much other competition on his resume, like Murata's team just said, okay, this is going to be a nice way to test the waters at 168, easy title grab. Let's just beat up on Rob Brandt and grab that belt.
Well, this was at 160, and what we got to remember when Brandt went up to
168,
to fight Bramer, that's the first time he's been up to super middleweight, and we've seen it before where fighters go up and the extra weight actually is a detriment to them, rather than where it's not as if he was a corpse at 160 and not taking off 8 pound made a big difference. So maybe it was a case of a combination of he couldn't do the extra weight because he wasn't used to it the first time he was on the big stage, and he just got a bit old-manned. That saying, I was absolutely gobsmacked when I saw the result this morning. I was really shocked, and watching it back, I was really impressed with the work rate, the fitness. I think, did he throw over 1,200 punches in the fight?
I've not seen the stats, mate, but I'll tell you one thing, though, is I know I think he's in the same gym as Charlo and one of the Charlo brothers and Errol Spence, so he's got to be learning.
Definitely, 100%. And if he's learning with those, those are world level guys as well. He's not learning up, like has-beens or anything. These are legit world level people, and I was really impressed. I mean, I think the way he just basically he beat it out of Murata. I was really shocked, and I mean, they were clearly teeing up a potential Golovkin fight next year, and can you imagine what Golovkin would have done to Murata? He would have absolutely smashed him to bits. It would have just been a complete beatdown.
Golovkin with a punch absolute slabs of meat off him. I mean, he's got a long body as it is, and as I say, he's got a porous defence. I mean, that would be like, who was the other Japanese guy that he knocked out out the ring? Oh, Ishida, was it Ishida?
Yeah, Nobuhiro Ishida.
That's who that would end up.
James Kirkland.
That's who that fight would end up, mate.
Are you just saying that because he's Asian?
No, I like it. I like a lot of fighters.
No, it would look the same. It would.
But the brutal, as Ozzy says, that would be absolutely savage.
And that's even
I think you guys are right. Based on that performance last night, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see that. I was surprised. I thought more of Murata. I think I talked about it last week when we were going over previews. That I've been somewhat impressed by Murata. I mean, I think that I did say I didn't think he was like top of the top level guy. But I thought he would be solid and win this fight. I thought he would have to go up to a little bit more top level competition before he got a real ass whipping placed on him like he did last night. I mean, I thought it was going to be much better than that.
Yeah, we're all shocked. I think it's one of the most embarrassing losses probably this year. Maybe in the last couple of years even. I mean, think about it. I mean, the guy's he's this big star in Japan, okay? He was made to look like an absolute novice. Okay, I'm not saying novice, that's probably... But he's made to look like a bum. He hurt the guy by body shot, I think, in the fourth round. I'm not hating the guy. Me, I've got a few Japanese fighters that I'm big on. Inoue being, specific reason. But as Gabe and Ozzy have also kind of alluded to, he pretty much lost every round there last night. He's pissed away the Golovkin payday, right? So it'll be interesting to see what he's going to do next. Can any of you actually see him improving and beating Rob Brandt after that last night? I mean, what's he going to do differently apart from, hopefully knock him out?
I can't. And age isn't exactly on his side either. He's 32 now.
Exactly.
So realistically, he's not. I mean, I don't know when he was born, but he's not going to fight again this year. Like I say, he was pretty battered towards the end of it. So where does it honestly go? Will Arum keep on backing him? I'm not too sure. I mean, I actually thought a potential fight would have been Billy Joe Saunders with how close that Top Rank and Frank Warren are. I thought that would make sense if there was, this fringe, this rubbish regular belt on the line. I thought if the Golovkin fight can't be made, then Murata Saunders, potentially in Japan, that would not surprise me one bit. Now, it's a case of what is the point in Murata? And Rob Brandt, I mean, with the work rate, sure, if you're throwing 1,200 punches a fight, you are going to cause problems to people. If you maintain that pace and you're throwing 100 punches around and connecting, you will cause problems. Now, we don't know how he's going to stand up against a potential power puncher with the top guys at 160. But at the same time, like I said, on pure fitness and work rate, and he showed some decent things last night, Brandt, as well. And he showed a side that I think pretty much nobody thought he had. I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't know anybody who felt Brandt would win this weekend.
No, nobody,
and it's definitely one of the upsets of the year.
Definitely. Another thing as well I was going to say is, especially if Tommy was on that, actually, he'd be trolling Golovkin at the minute, because that's like another payday for Golovkin, like possibly in Japan, gone because Murata's like just never delivered. But I suppose, and I'll maybe try and make like one defence for Murata. Is it possible that they maybe overlook Brandt?
I mean, when you're talking of a potential Golovkin fight in Japan as well, in your homeland, yes, quite possibly. And I think they clearly got it wrong. I mean, was Brandt made mandatory for this as well?
No, wait a minute, I'm just trying to think back now. I remember Bob Arum saying something actually a wee while back now. They were trying to make mandatory defence.
Murata was going to face Jason Quigley. And then the WBA stepped in and enforced Brandt as mandatory, which scuppered the Quigley fight, which was going to be in Japan. So they had to fight Brandt. And Brandt's team went to the lawyers about it and got it enforced. Right. Bloody hell, what a way to work out for him as well, for Brandt.
I know, eh? Basically, Bob Arms actually paid legal fees and that to actually get basically him as a mandatory challenger, and he's took his. It's just all about. That's what it's about, eh? Take your chance when it comes. You define the moment, or it defines you, and he defined it.
I think it did look like his team overlooked Brandt. That said, I don't think that means he's going to do any better in the rematch, because he, as you said, he is 32. I don't think he's going to shake those bad habits, like the hands at the chest instead of the chin. He's still going to be easy to hit. Brandt's going to have increased confidence, and based on what we've seen, Brandt's a younger guy. He has the ability to improve. Look what he improved significantly from. I know he's down in weight, so he has the size advantage now. But look how he improved from this fight to his fight against Bramer significantly. He's like a different guy now. Don't want to go too far on him, but because it's only one fight, but he has the ability to improve, whereas Murata does not appear to. He seems to have regressed, if anything.
Yeah.
You would say that I would favor Brandt again in the rematch for sure.
The good thing for Brandt definitely is it's another possible good payday coming his way, and if he wins that, it opens himself up for a Golovkin fight, possibly. David Lemieux's there as well. You know, it's a big fight in Canada, possibly for Lemieux as well, so another good payday.
I wouldn't be shocked to see the Golovkin fight next. It's all right saying, oh, yeah, how many times do you think we'll enforce the rematch straight away? But then when they go away and think, actually, is this wise? Murata loses again, he retires. Simple as.
I think he should retire now, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I can't see where he goes now, because he's only going to be wanting to box at the top level. And this is Brandt's, in reality, his second biggest fight of his career, and he's absolutely walloped him. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Golovkin and Brandt really shoot up that list, because as much as the regular belt is not a world title, but it gives Golovkin something in terms of, worming his way into forcing himself into a potential mandatory slot with the WBA. Because you hold that, they do eventually match the regular champion with the super champion. So whether he looks at that for that case, I'm not too sure. Fight would happen in America. Otherwise, I mean, going off onto Golovkin, where the hell does he go? Does he take that Charlo fight, or does he look to fight Billy Joel Saunders for no belt? Who knows? Who knows?
Well, I think it's safe to say that he probably wouldn't go for Demetrius Andrade from the other card last night. Not to move on too quickly. I don't want to start kicking a dead horse on here. But you guys catch all that card?
Caught some of
good. It was a long. Yeah. Did anybody else have a hard time this week with all these cards? I mean, 2 cards from the zone, or excuse me, the zone.
Yes, it was difficult to keep track of all the
and then having the ESPN Plus card. I mean, it just like everything was so spread out. I had no idea what time anything started or ended. And then I was like, well, am I missing something for the other one? And I wasn't sure I was going to be able to watch anything from the zone if I missed it later on, or if it, replayed later on. So I guess I should go on to say that I did subscribe, so I'd be able to go back and rewatch something if I couldn't. But I'll turn it off before the free month ends. Anyway, aside from my bitching and bitterness about having to subscribe to another fucking useless service, we got Rappin' Rob on the line. Rob, how'd it go? What'd you see from the Boston card where our mate Steve was at?
I didn't get to see Steve versus Dan Rayfield, which was the one I was rooting for. I was hoping that one was going to come off. Can you hear me, by the way?
Aye, your sound, mate.
Yeah, we got you.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I saw Tennyson Farmer.
Good fight, that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like, no disrespect to Tennyson, I don't think he's an A-level fighter, like, and I think a B-level fighter against Farmer is always going to lose. So you might have to have just, not saying that he's an elite fighter, but I think you just have to have something more to beat him. That style he's very slick, banged in some vicious body shots. So Tennyson gave as good as a go of it as he was going to, I think. But interested to see if John O'Carroll could get by his next opponent. I think he's mandatory then, isn't he, for Farmer? Like, so that'll be a hell of a scrap. Like, good bit of talking in the build up. And I'd give John O more of a chance, but I'd still think Farmer could dust him up. Like, but then again, I thought that before. I thought Gardy was going to do a number on him before, and he didn't. So I'd like to see that one. Obviously, I was rooting for Katie Taylor. See, Conor McGregor was in attendance in the house. There was a great clip of him going, "Move, Katie, make the space, and then throw your shots." And I thought, yeah, that's just the advice you want to give to Olympic gold medalist, Olympic finalist, and undefeated world title holder from Conor McGregor. So that was interesting. Andrade, I couldn't give a flying fuck.
Man, that was AIDS after so many rounds. Like,
couldn't give a fuck about him. I knew that fight was going. As soon as Saunders wasn't in it, I knew that fight was going to play out like that. Don't give a shit who he fights next. He's not going to fight Golovkin, I don't think. Although Golovkin could make a way to an easy belt, I think. If I know as much people thought Andrade to give Golovkin problems, I think even now Golovkin starches him. So yeah, I wasn't too impressed. I wasn't too upset about it. It was just a routine enough night's work. There's no point Katie Taylor. No, I know we don't want to get stuck on women's boxing, but there's no point Katie Taylor fighting the likes of those opponents anymore. Like, isn't it? It's time to kind of make that Serrano sister fight or the Chantel Cameron fight. We actually get to see her in a good competitive scrap. Like, and yeah, I don't know, onwards and upwards for Farmer. I don't think he's going to get that Gervonta Davis fight as much as he's harboring for it. Like, do not see that fight happening.
Yeah, I don't really see that one either. It to me isn't going to happen. I think Tank's probably going to move up a little bit before too long. Have you guys seen him lately? Every time I see him at an event or anything like that, or
he's baked to his tree or something like that, or cooked to his nut.
Or drunk off his head, and he's looking like he's gone up the weight, ballooning up. Looked like one of the Golden Girls there one night. He said today on Instagram, "I'm really trying to kill people when I'm in the ring." Well, newsflash for you. Wilder's already used that one, dude, right? He's already dined out on that one, so get a new catchphrase. And if you want to kill someone, why did you try and kill Lomachenko? Because if there was 2 or 3 tanks in there, they wouldn't be able to kill Lomachenko. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, Dave, did you catch anything? I'm going to start off with the Galahad fight. I don't know how much you guys want to talk about that one, but that was a really awkward fight, it seemed like to me, throughout the most of it. Galahad looked like he was using damn near every trick in the book. I mean, he was using his head, using his shoulders, using any part of his body he could to make some contact. I mean, at one point, literally, they were in a clinch, and he was using his shoulder to, raise his shoulder and try to hit him kind of in the chin, under the chin. But Galahad won that fight. So if you guys, anybody see that part of it, that part of the card?
I seen bits of the fight. As you say, it was awkward to watch. I just think it's a wee bit indicament as well as to what we can do with these sanctioning bodies. I mean, that was meant to be an IBF eliminator last night. As I say, it got kind of one of those type of fights and stuff like that where you kind of quickly lost interest and stuff. They were talking about on commentary, for example, that Clary was one of these fighters who basically kind of fleets in and out of fights. Mentally, Freddie Roach might have problems trying to kind of reach him mentally and try and kind of keep him on track and stuff. That is what it was, I suppose. It was just one of those kind of filler fights. And again, I didn't really pay close attention to it. Farmer Tennyson was I watched that one, and Tommy Coyle against was it Kautondokwa? Aye, that was a good fight actually. I mean, they did say in between rounds and that, the American was saying that he doesn't punch hard, and then Coyle comes out 2 rounds later, lands a really good, steps to the side, lands a really good left hook, high in the forehead, or maybe kind of side of the head. That kind of probably changed the guy's opinion straight away. I did think Coyle could have got the stoppage, but he must have known that he was well in front. He was really good. He was on the front foot, pushing the action all night long and stuff like that. I thought it was a really good performance by Tommy Coyle, who gradually, as his careers went on, actually seems to have slightly improved. Again, I agree with what Rob was saying about Andrade and that. You knock a guy down 4 times. You know your levels above this guy, and you perform like that in the later half of the fight. It's just like you turned a potential. I mean, you could have made, okay, it wasn't a breakout opponent, but you could have made a kind of wee bit of a signature name for yourself. So you go out and smash the guy, 4 knockdowns. You would think you potentially get the knockout.
Some of those knockdowns look like bad balance.
I don't know. I mean, at the same time, possibly, but the shots were the landing flush. The guy was going down like a brick. So and you can see him when he was trying to get back up. You can see it in his face. So what the hell did I just get hit with there? So clearly he must have had some sort of kind of damage on him. But I just felt Andrade kind of was passive as the fight kind of went on.
I've always felt kind of ambivalent towards Andrade. I guess I just never have cared for him so much. His fights always seem to drag on, and despite if he's doing good work and winning and beating the piss out of somebody, he just doesn't seem to have like a really killer instinct to go for it whenever you got a guy. I mean, you knock somebody down 4 times, I tend to think that you should be able to get them out of there. So I wasn't unimpressed. He did what he needed to do. He won against a late step in because of the issues with Billy Joe Saunders being a dumbass as usual. But that's it. I mean, I didn't care for the fight at all. I just kind of watched it just to watch it. Anything like that. Dave, did you catch anything on there?
I only watched a little bit of Andrade. Are you talking about the Farmer card now?
What's that?
Which card are we talking about, Farmer or Andrade?
They were on the same card, Dave.
Oh, they were on the same card?
Yeah.
Casual.
It was a big card. There was a lot of goddamn fights on that card.
Oh, okay. I thought Andrade was the headliner.
He was the headliner. We just kind of bounced around on this one, went all out of order.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw Farmer then in that case. So yeah, that's all I saw. Although I did see like the highlights of Andrade, and he looked homeless with that hair and beard. Looks ridiculous. I'm still pissed off about the Billy Joe Saunders fight getting scuppered, and it's just irritating. I knew that was going to happen. I knew we weren't going to get that perfectly good matchup that would have actually told us something about the division. But anyway, I don't want to even talk about that. Farmer looked good. He looked very, very quick, very confident. You had the British commentator saying, "Oh, you know that with Tennyson's a big puncher." Maybe he's a big puncher at British level, but he touched Farmer a few times, and you could tell right away. As soon as he felt the few punches, he was not afraid of the power at all. He just stepped inside and did his work. Took him apart easily. Placed those body shots really nice. The finish is actually really nice if you look at it in slow-mo, because he sets up that he avoids an uppercut off of Tennyson and just slips right inside and lands the perfect left to the body, and he just turns around and falls right on his dick basically, and it was the right stoppage because that guy was done. I mean, he might have been able to get up again, but he would have been down away again immediately. So I mean, what really is annoying now is again getting the big fights made, which we constantly seem to struggle with here. And Davis has fought once this year. Does he have anything scheduled now? I don't know. He's been talking a lot. You already insulted him this podcast, which is very deserved. But he deserves some more. And actually, Oscar was calling him out for not fighting earlier this week. And Ellerby then comes out and says something like he's going to take legal action because Oscar's trying to manage him or something. I mean, Oscar, I mean, he's annoying and obnoxious on Twitter, but he was spot on. And it's just completely irritating how Davis's career has panned out after his big couple wins there. And a while ago, I would have significantly favored Davis to knock out Tevin Farmer. It's getting closer, though. The longer this gets dragged out, the fatter Davies looks at ringside, the stupider he sounds in interviews, the more I favor Tevin Farmer to actually school him. Right now, it's probably about 50-50, and that's definitely an interesting style matchup that we want to see. But it says a lot about Davis's career that he's supposed to be an elite fighter. He's supposed to be a top pound-for-pound guy who handles business against like Lomachenko and the other top guys in the division. Tevin Farmer is like former journeyman. He's worked his way up. And he can't even get a fight signed with Tevin Farmer after over a year. Like, they're supposed to have this beef and this rivalry, and they still can't get it done. It's pathetic. So I'll definitely be rooting for Tevin Farmer.
I blame Mayweather, though. I blame Mayweather.
I agree with that.
I don't see how you can shove all the blame on Davis. Mayweather's to blame for this. He has destroyed this lad completely. Destroyed this lad. I was told a story earlier last week that basically Mayweather fucked him off because he wouldn't move to Vegas there. And when he did agree that, he wanted to bring his current trainer with him. And again, Mayweather kicked off and said no, clearly, because he wanted him to train, like by the coaches in the Mayweather gym. So he's just destroyed his career. I think Davis, if he could walk away from Mayweather now, the problem is it'll cost millions of pounds to walk out of that contract. I think he would sign for that Farmer fight straight away. He'd go and fight under Eddie Hearn, I think.
There's a flip to it, though, isn't there? Because didn't Floyd, didn't it come out in the media? And I think it wasn't MJP, it was someone else. Some other female writer had broke the story that basically Floyd had financed the move for him and bought him a house and furnished it and everything, and he sold the house and went back to Baltimore and sold the furniture out of the house for the man and everything and went back to Baltimore and wouldn't get out of the hood and Floyd was really pissed off with him because he made him world champion. Then he missed weight, but they said when he missed weight that one of his own family was after kidnapping and looking for 150 grand. So there's all kinds of fucked up shit going on with him, and Oscar then getting publicly tapping him up basically for a move. And Floyd probably is to blame because we can see how petty he is. He's one of the most petty individuals in the sport. He's horrible, but I could lay some of the blame on Floyd, and I think lay some of the blame on just Davis's own naivety, or just basically, like we said before on the thing, he's never had a bank account before becoming a pro fighter. He hit the big time, didn't really know what to do with the money, didn't know how to adjust to that lifestyle, and now he finds himself getting frozen out of spite by Floyd. And you bet I'd say LB and all them will go to the lawyers, because if Mayweather loses it, Battle Jack, that's it.
Yeah, Rob, you got that, bud.
But just jumping back to that card, I'm surprised. I thought Andrade should have been disqualified in the first round.
The first knockdown, when the guy was on the ground,
should have been disqualified.
That's a good observation. Yeah, when he went down, he hit him.
For me, I don't know why referees do not. I've seen it so many times now where fighters are hit on the floor and points are not taken off and they just get a warning. In my opinion, when a fighter is on the floor, he is defenseless and he takes a clean shot like that, he should be disqualified. He shouldn't have to be knocked out. In my opinion, you're clearly breaking the rules. It's essentially an assault because you've got a defenseless fighter on the floor and they're taking a clean shot. They should be thrown out and then it will put an end to it straight away. I mean, in my opinion, but don't get me wrong, Andrade was the right winner last night. It was a horrendous fight. I mean, how that Kautondokwa was even number 2 in the rankings is absolutely ludicrous. And he was never that either. But for me, Andrade should have been thrown out. And Steve Willis is a good referee as well, so I'm surprised that he didn't do anything, whether he felt like, it was a big occasion and you can't do that. Bullshit. Rules are there to be adhered to, and if you break them, you should be punished for it.
At least take a point, I don't think he said anything at all.
No, it's absolutely ludicrous. I don't get that. And I tell you what would have happened if if the opponent would have stayed down and not got up.
Well, that's what I was going to say, actually. If they actually kind of like over-egged that a wee bit, he could have probably even forced a DQ.
Yeah, exactly. What would have happened? Would he have acted on it? Would he? I guess he'd have to, wouldn't he? Or would he have continued the count and just waved it off? Because we know what would have happened then. It would have gone to appeal and it would have gone down as a no contest because of a punch after the count, and then we'd have had to seen it again. But no one could have complained if it had got thrown out for that because it was a clear shot on the floor. I agree with you, Andy, as well about Tommy Coyle. I was quite impressed by Coyle, and I thought he showed at times he can actually box. It's not just a case of, where he's one of these lads that you can clearly tell he loves to stand there and just trade and throw shots. But at times I was quite impressed by Coyle. And I put a tweet out last night. I overheard in the corner, he broke his left hand, I think, at the end of, it was either round 7. So you could tell that he didn't throw it as much. And I think that it brought Kielczewski back into the fight. But I thought the cards were a bit harsh. To give Kielczewski only 1 round, I thought was pretty, no rounds, just to share one, was pretty brutal, to be honest, because I thought at times, he started the fight really well, used this jab, and Coyle couldn't get near him. And then he just decided to, his corner said basically, abandon the tactics, getting close. And in my opinion, that just brought Coyle into the fight, and he took over from there, particularly in the middle rounds. Katie Taylor, I could not care. It's just, she's not interesting to watch. She just outclasses all these people. Put her in with someone like either Chantel Cameron, or they're talking about the Breakers fight going up to meeting at 140. Yeah, great, fine with that. Otherwise, I just really don't care. Galahad, Clary, it was a difficult watch. Galahad was a deserved winner. I mean, he just seemed mentally weak, the opponent. They were talking about it, and he just seemed to have lost it. Like Galahad was, like standing on his feet and things like that, and he was doing it back, and he just seemed to completely lose it, basically. And Galahad, now mandatory for the winner of Frampton and Warrington, but he's not going to get that fight because the winner of Frampton-Warrington is going to go to America and unify with Oscar Valdez. Completely fine with that. That's a great fight involving the winner. And then Tevin Farmer, really impressed. Is, again, an excellent example of that. If you lose a few fights earlier in your career, it's not the end of the world. What did he lose? 4 of his first 8 or 7? Again, basically, you look at that record, you were basically a journeyman, 4-3 or whatever it was, but he came back. I think people forget. I think, was his hand not blown to bits 2 years ago? Something like that, where he was shot.
Yeah.
And it just destroyed his hand. So for the fact he's even still boxing is a great story. But to then win a world title and defend it, don't mind Tennyson as opponent, European champion. You've got to make the step up. So fine. Tennyson just doesn't seem like he can hold a shot, really. Look really fragile to the body. I thought Farmer looked good. For what it's worth, I think if he boxed Davis, he'd get beat. I really rate Gervonta Davis, and I just think he'd be too much for Farmer. But it's a fight that we're not going to see because, sadly, of just promotional reasons and managerial things, with mainly from Davis's side.
Yeah, well, I just noticed that we had Mr. Adam Smeeto Smith join us. Smeeto, did you catch any action this weekend, bud?
Gabe, I'm going to be extremely unhelpful to the quality of this podcast because I only watched Anthony Odd. I just thought I'd come on, cause a bit of shit, and then fuck off, basically.
Well, right you are. Well, I guess with that, let's go ahead and move on to that card. Let's see. We had...
we need to give a shout out to Gary Cochran and Johnny Garton.
That was a fight, mate. That was a fight. That was the best fight of the night. But obviously, the best fight of the night. What happened inside the ring?
Yeah, true.
That was a quality fight. They both left everything on the line in that fight. Corcoran's the kid who went to fight Jeff Horn. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Aye.
Yeah, but I've thoroughly enjoyed that quality fight.
Anybody who's not seen it needs to go and see it. Actually, it was like a bloodbath. Garton got cut midway through the fight. Jimmy Tibbs in the corner trying everything he could do to try and keep this thing for opening up. It was a bad cut though. you know, as you say, Cochrane's he's always rough and rugged and stuff like that. You know, I think it was about the 7th round. Both had to kind of really get a stern talking to. It was just back and forth, blood everywhere, referees covered in the stuff. It was just, you know, the pace was unbelievable. You know, I don't know what the scorecards were actually, but I'll tell you one thing. For what I just threw my scorecard away. I could have been eeksy peeksy. It could have been 5. It could have been all over the place. Stuff like that. It was that type of fight. It was just whatever you fancied that. But what an ending as well. Great left hook. And as I say, somebody, an American asked me there on Twitter, what's the best fight of the weekend, and I just mentioned this fight to them. So if you've not seen this fight, guys, you need to go and watch it.
I mean, I think Ozzy mentioned it possibly last night. It's not rocket science. Like, they've put 2 British guys together. They've for a vacant British title, and they've put on the fight of the weekend. It's simple. It's simple how to put on a good show or a good fight. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. And I've never been a casual. I'd never really heard of this Johnny Garton, but he's obviously he's not young. 31 years old, but he's brought himself to the fore with that performance. I don't know who he's tied in with promotionally, but there's a lot of options out there for him now. And big up to his nickname, as registered on BoxRec as the Pexican, because he's from Peckham in London. I think that's fantastic.
Johnny Garton.
I think you're right on that one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just saying Johnny Garton signed to Frank. He signed him. Used to be part of Goodwin Boxing on the small old scene. Then Garton got his breakthrough, I think, probably about a year ago now, signed with Frank, and he's done really well. His story's excellent. I think he was basically pleased to win a Southern Area belt. And then, like I said, to go on and win a British title against Gary Corcoran, who's no mug, he's tough. And I agree, I echo what both Smid and Andy said. What a fight. And I always say it, but it is not difficult. Evenly matched fights, 99% of the time, will produce the goods. We saw with Catterall Davis that it can go against that. It was an evenly matched fight. The styles just didn't gel. But the majority of the time, it will work. All the time. And we want to see more of it. And to be honest, excluding the main event, I thought there was actually some decent fights on there last night. That Joe Mullen to Ben Capps, which was on just before the main, I think third fight. Oh, what a good scrap though that was. And props to Ben Capps, who I think he took the fight at short notice and he just kept going. What a warrior!
He could have stayed down on 2 or 3 occasions, and we wouldn't have moaned.
And no, definitely not. And he got back up, and what you've got to applaud what he did, because he could have easily stayed down, could have gone down, took his money and gone, but he kept getting back up. And I think you've got to applaud what he did. I won't be shocked to see Joe Mullender in with Mark Heffron in December for the British middleweight title. It's vacant. Mullender signed with Frank. It seems relatively straightforward to make, subject to the board approving it. Nathan Gorman, a big heavyweight, he boxed to a pretty laboured performance, really, against the tough Kamil Sokolowski. Gorman hurt his hand in round 1, and I've seen much better performances from Gorman, and I think he admitted that as well after the fight, that he did hurt his hand, but he's boxed Sokolowski before, he stopped him, and he's had him in for sparring as well, so it did look like a bit of a glorified sparring session, to be honest. And another decent fight, albeit the quality wasn't brilliant, was Zach Jelly 4-0 against Umar Sadiq 3-0. And now, when do you see that now? It seems people are afraid to lose to fellow Brits. Well, fair play to these two. 4-0 Zach Jelly, 3-0 Umar Sadiq. They put their unbeaten records on the line, and it wasn't a bad little fight, an 8-rounder. Sometimes you don't see lads in 8-rounders until they've had, 8, 9, 10 fights? And that was okay, and I'm all for that, because just because you lose early on, you can come back. So a loss for Umar Sadiq is not the end of his career. He's 3-1 now. Fine. Who cares? He can go on. He can go on with win area belts, and it might just take a bit longer. Nothing wrong with that. Rest of the card, you saw people like Bradley Skeet coming back after when he was annihilated in Spain. Lucian Reed, one to watch, very, very talented. Just a shame he got a bad cut. And then I think there's a couple of other debutant on there. A couple of others. It wasn't the worst of the card, but I mean, we can probably get to the main event in a minute, but which is just wasn't great.
It was shit.
Anthony
That's
Yard.
what it was. It was fucking shit. I said last week. I said my bit on it last week. I want to care. I want to be interested in the career and the progression of Anthony Yard. He's got the package, but what is being delivered in the ring is no way near good enough. I think a couple of the geezers, Buncey tried to stick up for it, to be honest, which I didn't like. But Woodall asked questions. The presenter, I forget his name, is good though. He asked questions of Frank as well. It's just a nut. And then they were saying this kid, Frank came on and said, "Oh, this kid is fought. Walter Gabriel Sequeira is ranked higher than Buglioni and Buatsi." I mean, so who gives a fuck, Frank? Who gives a fuck?
There's issues here. I mean, obviously, we want to see him progress. Okay, there's major issues here that I've got with Anthony Yard. I'll try and keep it as concise as I possibly can, but that guy he fought last night was meant to be a light heavyweight, right? And he's apparently never fought super middleweight. But if you look at the size compared to that guy, I want to know what weight Yard was last night in that ring. He looked like a mutant compared to that guy. He was massive. But the problem is this. I don't know if it's because of the level of opposition, if he's, but at the end of the day, he was getting shipped. He was shipping a few shots. The guy was trying to kind of like sit on his chest and stuff like that. He's very, very heavy in his feet, Yard. He's open to shots. Maybe that's because of the level of opposition. He had no respect for the power and stuff like that. However, we have not seen him tested yet. We need to see him work for 12 hard rounds. We've got disputes over his stamina, his chin, his defence. He's ranked 3 in the world, and they're talking about him actually fighting for world titles soon. Or I believe that's what they mentioned a couple of weeks back, or maybe even last week. But at the same time, who has he fought even domestically? Who has he beat? Nobody. Absolutely nobody has he beat domestically that says he is this great future world champion. I just don't see it. I mean, I'm not saying he can't be a world champion, but what I'm seeing for him for this opposition to be ranked 2 in the world, I truly believe the likes of Buatsi would give him problems. But obviously, we're not going to see that fight at this stage. But at the minute, Yard needs to step up opposition. And I think we went through the WBO rankings a few weeks back, discussing this guy, because I think we're talking about Shawnee Monaghan pulling out a fight against the guy and stuff like that.
He did.
At that weight, there's no really a lot of kind of opposition that you would really, apart from like Jack, maybe Kovalev, the German Bosel, I think, has got a fight arranged for the European title shortly as well. So that would leave the likes of Marcus Brown and Mike Lee. Can you see Warren make those fights anytime soon? I really don't.
No.
I just don't quite get it.
Joe Smith is tied up, isn't he?
They're hiding something, Smid. I think they're hiding.
Yeah, but he's not like if say they're protecting. I know it's a bit far fetched, but they're protecting Joshua, selling out Wembley and Millennium Stadium. But Yarde, he's selling out He's not even selling out Brentwood Arena or whatever it's goddamn called, Leisure Centre. What are they protecting? That's what gets me.
There's got to be a bit of glass there. There's got to be glass.
Well, you'd have thought so. And as you always say, Andy, and it's perfectly correct, he's carrying a lot of bulk ground. And how long can he do that for? In terms of how many rounds in one night, and how many years or months in a career? We just need to see him tested. And as I said last week, you can't just come on every time and say no one wants to fight him. You've got to put your hand in. There's 2 options: hand in pocket, or get on the bus over, or get on the bloody plane over the Atlantic. There's the 2 options. Simple.
To be fair, they did put their hand in the pocket. They offered Frank Buglioni about 115, 120 grand.
But Oz,
they turned it down.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough, right?
Goodwin admitted it.
But
said that basically they want to fight for other titles, so this Fan Long Meng was a better option.
But it's like saying, oh yeah, we're offering Wilder's made an offer to Joshua, but he's got to fight on BT. Like, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time making these offers when people aren't going to fight on the other person's channel.
No, but this was prior to the Fan Long Meng fight, and they considered it, and they literally said that Buglioni's been down the WBO route before, so he doesn't want to do it again. He wants to go and fight for the WBA, WBC, or RDA. In my opinion, it's just a clear
shocking.
It's a clear duck.
But is that Buglioni, or is it the fact that he's fighting on Sky? I know he's not top priority at Matchroom, and he's not been there for years, but
there's your thing now. Basically, I watched a video with Steve Goodwin. It was on his channel, and they said they have 4 options. It was a Hosea Burton rematch. They didn't consider that because it doesn't do anything. They were offered the Joshua Buatsi fight, but they were being brought in against Buatsi to lose. and they had the Anthony Yard fight and the Fan Long Meng fight. The two they considered was Anthony Yard and Fan Long Meng.
He's awful.
Goodwin said, yeah, for an opening offer, the money was very good. It didn't get into contracts or anything because it wasn't, furthered on. Or the Meng fight in Monaco. They put them both to it, and they basically took the Meng fight because he's essentially been down the WBO route before, and Meng was a different option. In my opinion, if Buglioni loses to Yard, he has nowhere to go. If he loses to Meng and this Meng goes and fights for a world title, he can just say he's not at that level and then come for the Yard fight. So I think they just don't fancy it. And the money was there. I mean, his own manager has acknowledged that. They made money. They had basically an offer with Shawnee Monahan accepted for this show, and then Monahan basically gave back word and said he wanted the best part of $150,000, which I'm sorry is a joke. You're just pricing yourself out of it. This opponent last night was not the choice. Still, though, they can do better than that, and I'm not having it anymore. I wouldn't mind if this was the 5th fight on the card, and they're not talking him up. And they're just saying, look, yeah, he's got ability.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But he's topping a bill here on BT, which is a big platform. So get a better opponent over. They're not going to do it, but I mean, and they keep, like Frank was saying last night, we've passed British level now, but it's bullshit because then you need to be looking at get someone like Karo Murat just to step up in the right direction. Then it will answer questions. If they get Karo Murat in, I will be happy with that in December because that is a step forward in the right direction. You've got to look back. When he fought Nicholas Edgelocker, I thought that was a decent win. The guy had come off a draw with the European light heavyweight title. And I thought, yeah, great. We're finally seeing Anthony Yard stepped up in the right direction. And then after that, after the what's it called fight, the Edgelocker fight, we've had Tony Avalan, Darius Sek, and Walter Sekira. And like I said, when a fight is being billed against Darius Sek as his first southpaw, you're scraping the barrel. Avalan, he gave him rounds and he gave him a working over, but he didn't throw a lot back. And like I said, Sek, again, he was tough and he'd never been stopped. But again, it was just a one-sided beatdown. And then last night, he seemed to drag it out a little bit and then just ended it in the 4th when he'd had enough. So whilst he may have the ability, he's clearly better than the opponents he's boxing. And we need to see step-ups because this number 2 ranking is utterly false and pointless when they're turning down world title fights because they want him, yeah, we could win it, but we could lose it. Well, I'm sorry, stop saying he's world level then and you're bypassing British title level when you're not going to take the fights at the top level. Go and box, say, like a Ricky Summers. Fine. If you go and destroy Ricky Summers, then fine. Then you can argue that, yeah, he's clearly at British level and probably above. Fine. Then go and get like a Murat in and then another European level. And if you come through those, people like Seb, Anthony Yard has clearly got ability. But when you're bringing over opponents like Sekira and saying, well, he's had a go, so what? So he should have a go. It's frustrating because the guy is being sold as something. And the worst thing now is he signed this sponsorship deal with Adidas and he's going to be one of the names for that. In my opinion, that is just going to slow the process down. When you're going to be the face of a brand like Adidas in the sports side, why the hell are you going to risk anything when you've got a big sponsorship like that?
What I was going to add as well is, see domestically, I mean, you've got Callum Johnson, Buglioni, Burton, Buatsi, Jake Ball, I think they're all with Matchroom.
Yep.
So is that also including Liam Conroy as possibly? But yeah, I had a look at the European rankings, just as Smith was talking there. He hasn't even ranked in the top 15 at European level. That's telling. And you've got Buglioni, Burton, both in the top 15. And there's one guy here I actually watched in Riga, Johan Congolo, right? He's from Switzerland. He's got I don't think he's got any knockouts and stuff like that. Even he's ranked above Anthony Yard, who's apparently number 2 in the world with WBO. I mean, the number 1 contender is supposed to be, I think it was the guy that Kovalev fought. Was it Igor Mikulkin? Did you see Yard beating that guy?
Well, not from what we've seen. Not from what we've seen so far.
He needs to badly step up.
I think last night, Woodall said similar to what you guys have said about that he got caught with a couple of shots, but because of the size difference, I mean, I thought from early on that Yard was just in show pony mode. To be honest,
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree.
But yeah, and then what one of the punches that started it was off behind the back of the head, as well. And he kind of bludgeoned him down to it was definitely round the ear region. And just going back to a bit of Buglioni and Burton. I don't know why Buglioni is not looking a bit more seriously at the Burton fight, because that was a good fight, and one that he was. Well, you could argue he was on the verge of losing it. Obviously, he certainly went down, Buglioni, and come back and won in great fashion. Fantastic. But while we're on Burton, he has done fuck all in 2 years since that fight, by the way. So that was on. I'm just on BoxRec now. So that was in December 2016. Since then, Burton's fought 4 tin cans, 3 of which have been over. He's weighed in over 180 pounds. So what's Hosea Burton doing? 30-year-old Hosea Burton. And, we've got Buglioni. I think, as Ozzy's explained, you can kind of say fair play for taking this little payday in Monaco. Obviously, I've never heard of the fella he's fighting, but it's one of them there's quite a lot of ranking points and, is going to get a good ranking off the back of it kind of thing. But while we're on rankings, and as I tweeted last night, there's rankings and then there's rankings, whichever, it's whichever ones suit your agenda. That Fan Long Meng is BoxRec number 54. Well, that fella, that idiot that Yarde fought last night is only BoxRec 58. So
that's because Smitty's lost and had gone down. He was in the 40s prior to last night.
Oh, was he? So right, okay. So they've been updated, right? Fair enough, yeah. But I mean, I don't really take much notice of them rankings anyway. But it's just whatever fits your agenda. Do you know what I mean? But like we say, we're creating false environments, because in the one hand we're saying Anthony Yard's rated in the top 5 with so many governing bodies and number 2 with the WBO. Yet he's not really took over the British scene. Never mind European or world. So, and I 100% agree with what I said about if last night he was the 9 o'clock fight rather than the main event, no problem. But they're building him up and with very little foundations.
It's right, and it's frustrating to hear, really. It's really frustrating. It's not as if he's 19 as well, like he's a kid. And they keep going on about he's had no amateur background. Well, stop headlining him then. Stop putting him up as this big, this huge name, because there's only so far people do it. And I think the crowd last night, it was absolutely, excuse the fighting and stuff like that, but there was a real good atmosphere in from Mullinder, the British title fight, and then Yard came in, and there was just echoes. No one gave a toss, because no one cares about seeing him anymore, like, in with these absolute nobodies. I mean, what I would say about the domestic light heavyweight scene is that I think there's a real problem in sticking them in with each other. Realistically, Callum Johnson had been really inactive until fighting Buglioni, and he stopped him. Hosea Burton, people can say Hosea Burton's a good win, but he's not beat anybody. He's not beat absolutely anybody. Serge Locker's a better win than a lot of domestic people have got at light heavyweight, regardless if you say he's a career super middleweight. But he drew for the EBU light heavy title, which for me solidifies your stance at that weight. And Yard battered him, absolutely battered him. And you've got to remember, Serge Locker had been in with someone like Callum Smith, who's absolutely massive, and he's basically a light heavyweight anyway, and he didn't make a dent in him. So it's a weird situation, really weird situation. One thing Goodwin did say is that this is the last fight Buglioni's got with Matchroom, and they may well look at the Yard fight straight after this Fan Long Meng fight. So it'd be interesting to see, but I don't buy the bullshit about the ranking things with Buglioni, because you beat Yard, you're number 2 in the world with the WBO, whether it's false or not. It's pretty decent. It's a pretty decent situation to be in. I just don't think he fancied it one bit. For Hosea Burton, he should fight Joshua Buatsi next. That's who he should fight. It's an in-house fight that should easily be able to make. Why not make it? They say they're struggling to match Buatsi. Pay Burton the money. You can make it in-house. You can control everything and make it happen. And then we'll see. He presents a new test for Buatsi, and we'll see what that is about. But whether it happens, I don't know.
Well, appreciate you guys talking about some of that stuff. I didn't get to watch much of the card, but I did download the Corcoran Garton fight and get it watched from out there in Brentwood, England. And Smito mentioned that, whenever you get these guys that are fighting out there for the Lonsdale belts, it's going to be a good scrap. There's a lot of guys out there that fight, and some of those guys, a lot of American fans or casual fans won't recognize. And to me, whenever you get some of those guys together, just understanding what they're fighting for and the history behind some of that stuff, you get good shows like you got last night with Corcoran and Garton. So next week, I guess if everybody's had their say, let's move on to some previews for next week. Looks to be some pretty good action coming up. We've got some more cards from Zone, more World Boxing Super Series stuff. We've got a HBO card, could be among their last cards they're going to be putting on. And then we've also got as well some stuff out there at London on the Zone. And then there's a card out there at Leipzig, Germany, just for some of you nerds who want to learn something. That's the place the first psychological laboratory was founded. So psychology, its birthplace is out there in Leipzig. Let's go back to London, though. And we've got John Ryder and Andrade Sorokin for the WBA super middleweight elimination fight. What do you guys think about that one? Smito.
Oh, I was hoping you was going to go to Aussie there, so I'm going to pass straight on to my friend from Chorley.
Oz, we defer to you, my friend.
Yeah, sure. So is this for the John Ryder card? Let me just pull it up quickly. Really good card, this. Really good. I'd probably say it's one of Matchroom's best of the year. Really good. No outstanding fights on it, but they don't need to be, because when you've got John Ryder, Andrei Sorokin, finally eliminated to fight Callum Smith, Ryan Doyle, Jordan Gill, Commonwealth belt at featherweight, Ted Cheeseman, Asinia Byfield, British light middleweight title, and Jake Ball, Craig Richards for some crappy WBA belt, and Isaac Chamberlain, Luke Watkins, just a 10-round cruiserweight fight. That's fine. That is a really good competitive card. And if the fights all end up stinkers, you can't have a go at Eddie Hearn, because on paper the fights are really good, and I'm more than happy with that, and I'm looking forward to it. There is 5 competitive fights there, and like I say, Ryder against Sorokin is top of the bill. Ryder's in a bit of a like a twilight of his career, really. I mean, everybody thought it was over when he'd lost to, I think it was Jack Armfield, and he basically went away, went on the road, came back at super middleweight. No, John, friend of the pod, speak to him quite a lot, and making 160 was killing him. Went up to 168, like I said, beat Adam Etches, arguably beat Rocky Fielding, split decision, but I had John winning the fight, and then iced Patrick Nielsen, and then iced Jamie Cox. So it's a good fight. I've had a look at a bit of Sorokin. He's okay, pretty basic. Solid opponent, not much power. Like I said, he had a relatively close fight with that Ryan Ford from Canada, and the win on. I mean, the standout name on his record is Ricardo Mayorga, but we all know what a corpse that guy was when he boxed him back in 2017. And then, like I said, dropping down the card, it's all aboard the Ryan Doyle train next week against Jordan Gill. Doyle's been flying in camp, absolutely flying. So looking forward to the odds from that, and fingers crossed the bookies get it wrong again, because I'll be tipping up Ryan Doyle to beat Jordan Gill next week. Ted Cheeseman, Asinia Byfield, great fight for the British light middleweight title. I think Ted Cheeseman might be a little bit too cute for Byfield. Cheeseman, good prospect in decent fights as well. I like him. Doesn't run his mouth. I think he's on the quiet, one of Matchroom's better talents, and probably because he doesn't have the mouth, he doesn't get the huge hype that others do, or he's not an Olympian. But I like Ted Cheeseman, good fighter, as in the Byfielders as well. Really good fight. I think Cheeseman will have too much for him. Jake Ball, Craig Richards. Ball now with Dominic Ingle, so I think we'll see a different style from him. I think Ball will have a bit too much for Richards. Don't really think Richards is a light heavyweight. I think he was more suited down at super middle. Looked a bit small when he was fighting Buglioni. And Isaac Chamberlain against Luke Watkins. Struggling to pick a winner in this one. I mean, I thought Chamberlain displayed some good things against Wadi Camacho, particularly when he dislocated his shoulder and boxed on for the win. But then struggled against Lawrence Okoli. Luke Watkins, we know he's packing glass on that chin, but does Chamberlain have the power? I'm really not sure on this, but it's a good fight again because it's competitive, and it really is. It's a close one. On the rest of the card, you've got former European champ Martin Joseph Ward, Reece Bellotti making a comeback after he was stopped by Ryan Doyle. Felix Cash, badly in need of a step up now, 9-0. Then you've got a couple of others as well. George Fox is a heavyweight and Charlie Duffield at light heavy. So overall, a really good card from Matchroom. Looking forward to it. And like I said, plenty of competitive fights.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is some good stuff coming on next week. So past that card, let's see. What else do we have going on next week? For anyone, Martinez is going to be in action out in Spain. Former super bantamweight, believe. Is that correct? Super bantamweight title holder. I think he held the IBF. Is that correct?
Martinez, yeah.
Yeah. Not sure if that one's going to be broadcast anywhere. But at New Orleans, let's go to that one next. We'll cover pretty much all the big cards that are coming up next week. But out in New Orleans, Regis Prograis, and this is going to be his first fight in the World Boxing Super Series, going up against Terry Flanagan. Haven't heard from Dave in a little while. What do you think is going to happen in this fight, bud?
That's probably the most 50-50 of the weekend for me. Prograis is on a streaking rise. He's got some real momentum going for him. But Flanagan is very experienced, very cagey, very tricky. I think it could be made ugly. If it's ugly, big points for Flanagan. He's the guy who's going to benefit from that. But Prograis could overwhelm him. We'll see how he deals with it. It's a very interesting clash of styles. Prograis is going to be swarming him. He's going to be trying to anyway. Flanagan, I expect, will try to be either keeping range or tying him up, and trying to make it a little ugly. Try to work his shots in when Prograis looks for rests. So this could be an interesting fight. I'm gonna slightly favor Prograis in this one. I think he's got the youth. Flanagan's coming off the loss to Hooker, so maybe he's not got that sort of aura around himself. But I mean, Flanagan has a little bit of a dig to him. I mean, he stopped some guys to the body, so he could look to hurt Prograis coming in. I just think Prograis too much right now. So that's my pick. But he's definitely still a question mark. He's got some decent wins, but nobody as experienced as Flanagan.
Yeah, I think he's going to find himself thrown right into the fire, so to speak. He didn't want to go in, so credit to him for signing up for the World Boxing Super Series. I think that anybody that goes into that tournament deserves at least some level of respect for what they're going into, because we're not talking about, it's not the contender. These aren't young guys who are struggling trying to find their way. These are guys that are to some extent established and know what they're doing. So, if I'm picking, I'm probably going to go with Prograis with an edge on this one. Not sure exactly how it'll turn out, though. I can't picture it being a blowout for Prograis. If it is, all credit to him. But I think Flanagan is going to pose some problems for him. And, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Flanagan spoiled the evening down there in NOLA. Rob, what do you think, bud? How's it going to play out?
I think it was Dave that might be right about the clash of styles favouring Flanagan, because although Hooker did beat Flanagan, he beat him kind of with, jabbing a right hand, or lead in the backhand all night. And I don't know if Prograis is going to fight him that way. Like, I think he's going to go in all guns blazing. Like, so that might play into Flanagan's hands a little bit. Might be able to tie him up. He might be able to get a little bit nasty with him. just get him off his game a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if Flanagan came away with the stoppage here somewhere down the line. I just have a feeling he's going to bounce back. He's always shown he's been a good pro. Maybe he was boxing at a certain level that he wasn't maybe able to try and get the fights that he was looking for. But no, I have a feeling he's going to bounce back and stop Prograis.
Bold prediction.
Yeah, that's pretty bold. I think here in the States, I'm not sure about you guys out yonder, but we get a lot of the Prograis hype train over here. Seems like everybody's on that bandwagon, so to speak, at this time. But I definitely don't see a guy that's unstoppable. Whenever I'm watching him fight, yeah, he's a solid guy, young kid, still coming up, finding his way. But I just think Flanagan can give him some fits. I thoroughly expect Flanagan to pose some problems for him. If he goes in there and he walks right through Flanagan, then I'm going to be pretty shocked. Anybody else have a pick on this one? Andy?
I think it's going to be a tough fight for Prograis. I mean, okay, Flanagan's a southpaw. Okay, he's been up in weight. 140's obviously been comparing at 135 and that, but he was big for the weight. He is going to hold a wee bit of height advantage. I think possibly a wee bit of reach over Prograis as well. Southpaw might cause problems. You just never know. People need to remember. I know Flanagan gets a lot of kind of grief for he's sometimes not great to watch, and some of his fights in the past have been kind of awful to watch and that as well. But he's tough. He will not be moved. As you say, I agree with what Gabriel just said there. Actually, is if Prograis was to get a stoppage victory here and a legit one, it would be a bit of a signature win for him actually, because as I say, Flanagan's always tough, always durable. He can spoil. So for Prograis to kind of legit stop the guy would definitely be a statement. But I'm going to say, because the fight's in the guy's hometown, I think he's going to win it on points. Something along the lines of like 116, 112. The other fight, I'm really looking forward to the other fight in the card as well, Branching against Yigit as well. It's going to be a complete clash styles. Yigit, the absolute, pure boxer as such. Well, he's not a pure boxer, you know what I mean? But he still is more kind of counter puncher boxer. Branchik, obviously, is thick set. The shoulders on that guy, absolutely massive. Just basically bombs away, comes in and just kind of tears right into you and stuff. So if he can actually kind of work Yigit's body, kind of get him to kind of stand still for a bit, I can actually see him actually stop him Yigit late, unless Yigit again can somehow kind of box himself to a decision victory. Another southpaw. So potentially that might cause Branchik some problems and stuff like that. But I'm really looking forward to both fights, but mainly the Yigit against Branchik fight on that card.
Yeah, go ahead, Oz.
I was going to say I think Flanagan wins. I think what we saw against Hooker is what people may not have known is that when the fight with Hooker was announced, it was on a date. So Flanagan had gone out to Fortaventura with the Ingle camp to start training, did a load of running, fitness work, and was absolutely flying. And when he came back, he was doing really well in training, and then the fight got moved. And I think it was about another 6 weeks on. And basically, I think Flanagan just grew stale in camp, ended up having like a 13, 14 week, maybe long camp. And I think he basically peaked too early. And it ultimately cost him in the Hooker fight. Just think he looked flat at times. I think now, essentially, Flanagan's been completely wrote off in this. And when we've seen him perform as the underdog before, he's come through with flying colours. And I think Prograis' style is quite good for him, really. Relatively short guy, likes to load up, throw big shots. I think that will suit Flanagan down to the ground. I think we'll find a lot of how the fight goes early on. Know a couple of people close to the Flanagan camp, and they're quietly confident. And I don't think Terry Flanagan is a 7-1 shot in the fight. And at 7-1, I'm going to back him at that because I think he's a better chance than 7-1. Never really been outclassed at the top level. Prograis, still some questions to be answered. So I'm happily going to take Flanagan. I think people will look at that Hooker performance and write him off completely. Whereas I think, like I said, he's going away confident, really enjoyed training out in America. So I think we could have, definitely to the bookies, an upset. As for the other fight, which is the Yigit Baranchik, I just think Branchik will have too much. I think Yigit will always struggle because I don't think he digs that hard, does he? What's he got, 5 or 6 stoppages, something like that? I always think you can only go so far at a high level, but you need a dig, just to keep people off you. And I don't know if it'll just be a bit too much. That saying, Yigit has got some good wins on his record, and it's a relatively decent fight, so don't mind that at all.
Gabe's on mute. He's probably talking to himself. There you go.
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so I think we got some surprising picks there for Flanagan, Branchik, and Yigit. I think it's going to be a good show. I'm really excited. I would have to say, if I had paid for this first month of the zone, I'd be in a good spot because I think the value's been there for this first month. So, good thing for me, it's been free this first month, and I can cancel the goddamn thing. Out there in Sofia, Bulgaria, on ESPN Plus here stateside. I'm not sure how you guys are going to get it over there. But we've got Pulev and Huey Fury, 12 rounds. It's going to be an eliminator for the IBF title. Let's make some picks.
Channel 5 in the UK for anybody listening in.
Frank's got Channel 5 on lock, doesn't he?
No, that's Mike Hennessy, mate.
Oh. Isn't Frank a co-promoter?
No, not anymore.
No. That was kind of tied in with Tyson. That I did notice that Kubrat Pulev's brother's on the card as well, and remember we're talking. I don't know if anybody remembers mentioning it, but the WBA rankings at heavyweight a couple of weeks back, Bogdan Dinyu's actually on the card again, on that card against Tom Little, who's obviously did a bit of travelling recently in that as well, as he got knocked out off Filip Hrgovic. I think it was start of the year he got knocked out. In fact, I was at that fight actually. What am I talking about? That was
I'm shocked Mick is still going. I thought he blew all of his money on Huey's last title shot.
I was saying nothing about that. Mick was raging after that fight. Shades of Ali, baby. Shades of Ali.
Greatest robbery he's ever seen.
I think Huey Fury is capable of beating Pulev. And I think if he's not capable of beating Pulev at this stage of his career, then he might not turn out to be a heavyweight prospect again. Pulev's a little bit over the hill now. But Fury's going to have to... I think we saw a bit of it in the Sexton fight, where he unleashed and let his hands go a little bit. I think he needs to do more of that. Like we've seen he can move, we've seen he can jab. He holds it left hand a little bit low for my liking, and he wasn't as active in the Parker fight. I think that fight was there for him if he'd have stepped on the gas. So he could have been a world titleist already. I think that might have been a bit early for him. But you got to take these chances when you get them. And look, I think he has the attributes to beat Pulev. Going away to do it on the road would be a big statement for him, and it'll throw another nice little conversation in the heavyweight division if he wins it.
I think Huey's going to do it. I think I agree with Rob. It is kind of in a way his last chance. I mean, he could always come again and give it another shot, but I think if he doesn't win this fight, I think the hype dwindles significantly. You could say the Parker fight was first time jitters. He did still manage to look good and make Parker look bad. But Parker's also a pretty high level fighter, higher level than Pulev at this point, I would say. So he better win this fight. I think he better do it clearly. No close decisions here. You'd want to, or you'd hope for a stoppage. Really, it depends how shot Pulev is. We won't really know till we see him in there. But I do think Huey can do it, and I think he will do it. Just how emphatically he's going to do it is kind of up in the air. But I think he needs to come out guns blazing. He needs to be on form. Peter said to us years ago now, his son Huey has one of the best chins he's ever trained. So I wouldn't worry too much about Huey getting stopped and dropped. I do trust Peter. He's a good trainer. So I would expect Huey to win this. And sometimes he's able to look better than Tyson with just his punch technique. It's less loose and less wild. And yet Tyson's obviously achieved far more than him by becoming lineal heavyweight champion of the world. And Tyson has always been a little bit more awkward, definitely harder to figure out, I think, than Huey. But Huey looks like he might be the better puncher, looks, I don't know, maybe crisper as a puncher, possibly more accurate. He's more conventional, I think. And if he's able to get it done, I think this is the perfect opponent for him, really, to make his step up and to hopefully make it for real this time. So I think he's going to do it, probably by wide points decision.
All right. Well, there's our picks for that one. I'm going to go with Huey in a close fight. I think Pulev's going to make it difficult. Wouldn't surprise me to see it the other way. I think it's going to be one of those fights that can go both ways. Just from what I'm seeing, just from what I've seen of the two, and the way I see it playing out, I think it may be pretty close. So it'll be one of those fights where you swing a couple rounds either way, and you can have either guy up winning. Let's go on to the New York card, one of the last shows of HBO, as I've mentioned before. If you're out there in a cave, HBO a little while ago had announced that they'll be stopping boxing coverage at the end of the year. There's some talk about this card and then maybe a couple of others coming up before the end of the year. But on this one, we've got 3 solid title fights. You got Jacobs and Derevchenko, Machado and Evans, and a rematch, Heather Hardy and Shelly Vincent for the WBO women's featherweight title. Let's start off with Hardy and Vincent. Did any of you guys see the first one?
Women boxing.
No. You're kidding me, aren't you?
Actually, I know Heather Hardy from back in my college town, where one of my classmates made a documentary on her. So I've always rooted for her. She has a good story. She's a good-looking lady. Her crossover to MMA was pretty embarrassing, but as a boxer, she's not bad. I think she's still undefeated. I would expect her to win this, but she's bouncing back from the MMA world, so she may have some cobwebs to shake. She really got battered in her second MMA fight, I think. It was stopped on just her face falling apart. But she's a girl with some heart, more heart than skill.
Well, if you want to see a good fight, regardless of being male or females, that one's pretty cracking. I believe the last time I checked, you could watch that one on YouTube through the PBC, I believe it was, website. I think it was on YouTube as well. But I'm pretty sure you can go watch it on the PBC website as well. The Premier Boxing Champions. If you want to see that before it happens, I'd recommend it. I thought it was a hell of a fight, regardless of who was in it.
I assume Heather won the first one, right? On points.
What? You know what? I'm not even sure. Was it I believe so. Yeah.
I think she's undefeated.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dave. That's right. For some reason, I was thinking it may have been a draw.
Could have been. I don't know.
You'll have to tune in next week. You'll have to tune in next week for another episode of Women's Boxing Asylum. What's going on here, lads? Bring back Wellings.
I knew I was going to catch shit for talking about this one. Hey, I'm dead serious. You guys better tune in for this one. I think it's going to be a real firecracker.
All right, we'll see.
Okay, on the a little bit further on up the card, we got Alberto Machado and Yondale Evans. Am I the only one that doesn't rank Machado that well? I don't really think he's all that hot. I don't know. Something about the guy just doesn't seem like it's all that great to me. Somebody tell me why I'm wrong. Nothing? Am I right on this one?
I don't even know who the hell he is.
You haven't seen him at all?
No.
Okay, well that could be part of it. He's been on ESPN before, I think. On
the Corrales knockout was the one that really brought him to the front, really. But
I'm gonna say Andy will be a big fan, won't he? He's another Puerto Rico.
Here we go.
I think he'll be a big fan.
Season ticket holder. Been at all his fights, like Cagus and Canton and all that sort of stuff. No, as it says, just another one of his WBA trinkets. Now, I've never seen Yundale Evans. I don't think. I think he's an American. I don't think I've maybe seen him. I just brought up his record there. Actually, I just noticed Javier Fortuna knocked him out in one round. So I don't know if that's maybe been like just a kind of like freaking shot that's kind of taken him out. But no, I mean, as I say, I need to kind of watch the fight. Obviously, kind of maybe pay attention to it. But Jacobs, Derevchenko, as I says, again, Derevchenko for me actually as well is he has got this kind of reputation as a big hitter, but again, it is against either low rank opposition or a short Sam Solomon.
Sam Solomon. I mean, even Jermaine Taylor, who brain damage, was able to drop him before that fight happened. Like, I mean, the guy's knee broke or whatever, and Jermaine Taylor was like knocking him down 6 times.
Yeah, but no, as with Danny Jacobs, we know he's a big middleweight. You know, I've gave him probably a wee bit of kind of unjust kind of criticism in the past and stuff like that. I've just never been able to kind of write off that Dimitri Pirog knockout for some reason. I just don't know why it always kind of sits with me. And it's probably unfair on the guy actually because he has kind of like fought himself back in the contention. And I think at one point I think I maybe even said that my scorecard for the Golovkin fight, I think I maybe had him winning it actually as well. But here he is. He's got a vacant title shot for whatever reason, for whatever that's worth. I know it's been stripped or it was stripped beforehand and stuff. So I don't know how much stock you're going to put in it. I mean, we've got a lineal champion. That'll again, it'll piss people off, but facts are facts. But you would think, Derevchenko at this point in his career, he needs to kind of basically step up and do it. He's 32 now. Chances like this might just slip him by if he doesn't kind of deliver the goods here. But Jacobs as well, I think maybe his experience might just be the telling factor in this fight, and I could maybe see Jacobs winning it on points.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Didn't Sergio the Snake Mora drop Jacobs as well?
Yeah, it was the Jacobs
in the first fight.
Yeah, I think so.
And then after
after
that fight, yeah, so he's been destroyed by Pirog. He's come back and he's overcome his battle with cancer, which is, hugely admirable. Can't take it away from him. Sometimes, I don't know, like, he was getting dropped. He got knocked out by Pirog. He got dropped by Mora in the first fight. Controversial ending, as far as I remember. And then
broke his ankle.
Then he's blasting people out. And he's in there with Golovkin. I think Golovkin got shot the night he fought Danny Jacobs. And I think Golovkin, maybe 6 months or a year earlier, probably stops him. Even though Jacobs fought really well in the fight, close fight with a clear. But I thought, I don't know, I wonder about Danny Jacobs. He's a hard sell, as well. He's not exactly he hasn't got the most. He's okay. He's a good fighter, but he hasn't got the most electric style. Apart from his win over Kid Chocolate, really. He hasn't been in too many other kind of, humdingers. I don't know. He's a hard guy to kind of root for. I think he's too nice, maybe, or something. I don't know. There's just some missing piece of the matrix there with Danny Jacobs. But he's there amongst the top guys now at middleweight. Are we going to see Canelo, Danny Jacobs down the line? That's what Eddie Hearn said today, that we're definitely going to see that one down the line. So, no, probably not.
I think you're. It's fair to be suspicious of him because what you said there. You didn't necessarily imply you were suspicious of him, but I mean, I think it'd be fair to, considering his his real breakout wasn't until Peter Quillen when he stopped him in the first round, and after that, people were like, well, he's got the power, and then he's kept winning for the most part. And
I think Quillen in that fight. I think Quillen when in the Andy Lee fight when Andy got back into the fight and I dropped him, I thought Quillen got gun shy in the second half of the fight. I think when he felt a touch of Jacobs' power, he just folded. So I don't even know how much stock to put into that. You know what I'm saying? It's a weird one with Danny Jacobs. But yeah, you're right. I was kind of implying that the last guy that had cancer that came back was Lance Armstrong. So you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. By the way, I'm not trying to pretend to be some sort of cancer expert in that as well, but I believe people who suffer with cancer, certain types, again, I say I'm not being 100% accurate here, but I do believe they give EPO to cancer patients to obviously boost the red blood cells and stuff that get destroyed by the chemo. I'm just saying.
I'd probably have no problem with that. If he was just evening out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
I know, but
it's hard to know. But it's like there have to be certain suspicions raised over him, I think. And then all of a sudden, he's jumping back up off the deck from Golovkin and dominating the kind of second half of the fight. I don't know. It's just, to me, it seems a bit odd.
Being suspicious is fair, but there is still no proof. And I mean, to be fair, also to Jacobs, he's gone on quite a good streak, really, since Quillen. He dominated more again. I was there. Pretty boring fight, but he won every second of it.
It
And
was
then
more,
comes
what
Golovkin.
did you expect?
Well, the first fight was difficult for him. And then, of course, Golovkin, which, I mean, more so than Quillen for hardcore fans was a real breakout for him because everyone still expected Golovkin to chin him. We figured he just got off first against Quillen, got his power home first, but that he was still chinny. But against Golovkin, he really showed that, one, he could take punches from a good puncher. Two, he had some real legitimate boxing skill and avoided the majority of those punches, used his size very well. Then there was Arias, and there was Selecki, now Derevchenko, or Derevyatchenko. I don't know how you say it, Derevchenko. Luis Arias, boring fight, but I mean, he won almost every round. Selecki, he dropped him at least, also pretty boring though. But those are two undefeated guys, and you can't just sneeze at those wins. I mean, that's gained him some further experience at a fairly high level, so that's good for Jacobs. I'm going to have to favor him in this fight, despite Derevchenko, I think, being the best of those three guys, those three undefeated guys. I think Jacobs is going to be just too dynamic for him. I think he's going to win rounds early and be able to keep away till the end. I think Derevchenko is more of a slow starter. I think he's going to be clinical and try and look to break down Jacobs. It's an interesting fight, though. You know, Derevchenko is still a bit of a question mark.
Yeah, that's why I am picking Danny Jacobs for this fight. I think Jacobs is going to take the fight, close fight. I think you're right. I think Derevchenko is going to try to break him down. I think he's going to do some good work. I think he's going to win some rounds, but I think at the end he's going to come on a little bit too late and with just not quite enough to put Jacobs down and out. So I'm picking Jacobs, which, as you all know, is a fucking curse of death. So if you're now betting, you should bet against exactly what I just said.
And Prograis too. You cursed Prograis.
Yeah, Prograis. Pretty much anybody lately. My picks have been terrible as of late. So don't bet based on me. Bet based off these experts that we've got here.
What I do like about Gabe's picks, though, especially
of the Boxing
in the chat,
Asylum. What's that?
Like about your picks, especially it's a vivid
You,
detail.
Rob.
You can hear me or no?
One more time.
No, what I'm saying, what I do like about your picks is that when you're in the group chat, especially, you're very, very vivid and go into great vivid detail about how the fight's going to play out, and then can sometimes be 100% wrong. So it's quite interesting.
Hey, Gabe, if you could start picking Anthony Joshua, that would be great.
I think I need to. Well, you know, I did pick Povetkin. I did want Povetkin to win. I did pick him to win, and we saw how that played out. So maybe I need to stop doing whatever it is I'm doing and just go with the opposite, whatever pops in my damn head. We're almost gonna wrap up episode 296 of the Nuthouse podcast. If you're just getting on with us, you're a little bit late to the party, but we still have one of our favorite segments, the Bellews of the week, unless anybody else has something else they want to add on the upcoming fights. We all good?
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.
Aye, let's try to say we have got European light heavyweight title fight for Germany, Dominic Bussell against Enrico Colling. So it might be worth keeping an eye out on that one. Two guys, similar levels, so it might be a decent fight.
Okay.
And I wanted to give a shout out to John Ryder's granddad, Tommy Owens. A really good calendar this week with loads of boxing greats on it. So shout out to him. He's my dad's first cousin, so we're rooting for Ryder next week. And as well as that, shout out to my woman because she's only 30, but she was able to identify Sugar Ray Leonard. So obviously I'm doing something right.
Here, I've just noticed something, but I don't know if anybody's picked up on this. Just give me a second just to kind of bring this up here. I just came across something, and I don't know if it's bang on, but Ozzy, you might be able to kind of pick me up on this one. I just seen something that Lee Haskins was supposed to be fighting in the Philippines tonight.
Oh, really?
Ah, he was supposed to be fighting on that undercard, the Felix Alvarado against Randy Petacoloran.
Who against?
He was supposed to be fighting somebody called Kenny Demicelio, but I just went on to Lee Haskins' box rate page. There's nothing come up. And I've just just brought up Brado's page here, and it's still saying the fight's results not come through yet for. They're saying that though, it's Monday 29th of October actually, that's what they're saying here. But Haskins was supposed to be on that card and it's dropped off. But fight news actually.
What weight is that at?
It was saying here the fight was supposed to be. It doesn't say it, mate, but they've got the date wrong anyway. Sorry about that. But it's actually next week. It's actually the following Monday, actually, Monday 29th of October. But he's no longer on that card anymore, eh? But I just wonder why he was on it and why he came off it. Eh?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Not a clue. I thought Haskins had retired actually, and then I saw he was making a comeback, and he was named mandatory for the European title. I think he's a bantamweight, but
better if he does retire. There's enough lees to keep track of.
Yeah. Well, just a quick one as well actually for next weekend. Shout out to Josh Whale. Best of luck. He's going to France to fight for the European bantamweight title against George Ori. So great story for Josh Whale. I think he's got, maybe 9 losses on his record, but he's won the British title and he's now got a chance to go and become a European champion. So best of luck to Josh Whale. Like I said, proves the story that you can have losses on the record. It doesn't mean it's the end of your career.
You there, Gabe?
On to Bellew of the Weeks.
Did not mute myself. So usually with our normal host Steve Wellings, he goes on with the Bellews of the Week. Bellew of the Weeks. Bellews of the Week. That's more appropriater.
Appropriator.
Yeah, goddamn right. That's how we do it in Texas. We're gonna have our esteemed hater Dave Loback go over some of those that he's gotten sent. I've got my Twitter up. If you've got a Bellew of the Week you want to nominate, shoot me a message on Twitter.
Yeah, and I definitely want to
fucking social media stuff, but we'll do the
nominations from the panel if you got any, because these ones aren't that great. They're a bunch of casual comments. We start off with a picture of Paulie Malignaggi looking at Michelle Joy Phelps's boobs. This was submitted by Pathetic at Patheti 50693468. If you really want to look up his name,
I bet Paulie went. I'm not going to say it. I bet no tonight. I better keep it clean.
Say nothing.
Say nothing, dude. Say nothing.
This one was a less casual comment. This one was made the rounds earlier this week. Master Knowledge Spencer Fearon. Right, I've said it from when this fight was first announced. Tony Bellew is the right man with the right boxing brain to cause this supposed upset versus Usyk. Just watch. And then he likened it to Hopkins versus somebody.
Versus Antonio Tarver.
Hopkins versus yeah, Tarver is just like Usyk, really. If you think
I
about
actually responded to that because I normally don't take the bait, but you can't be putting Bellew and B-Hop boxing IQs in the same fucking sentence, especially on the 10-year anniversary of B-Hop dusting down Kelly Pavlik. So, no, like, I'm not having that. So I just said to him, have a day off, dude. Really, like, well, he didn't get back to me. He didn't block me either, though. So, but I don't know what that says. I don't care either. But, like, that's just a ridiculous, outlandish comparison. It's going to take one to beat that this week for me. Like,
yeah, that's the front runner right now. Master Knowledge. Jake Wood on the Pound for Pound podcast, talking to Carl the Cobra, said that Froch versus Groves was the first stadium fight in Britain in 90 years. That's clearly false. I guess he missed the 80s and 90s.
And Joe Calzaghe.
Well, he doesn't
fought in a
count.
stadium fight. He fought in a
He's
stadium
a
fight.
Welshman. They don't count. Ashton Curtis and Eddie Hearn Nutlecker. This was after Eddie announced the Canelo signing. Fucking hell, Eddie. I bet you put on your favorite turtleneck when you signed that deal. Lovely work. Just begging for a retweet, I guess. Another one. Holy God, well, 07 Weaver. Holy God, well, that's boxing now dominated by Matchroom. What a signing. Can't wait to see Canelo fighting over here. Hashtag UK home of boxing. Yeah, I don't know about that.
That's going to be up there with Spencer X, that one. Like, that's going to be up there.
Yeah, he's going to go over for fielding, I'm sure. Here's another one. Somebody asked, Boxing on BT Sport asked, who is the best boxer never to win a title at world level? And Steven, or at Steven11380548, whatever, always thought Paul Smith Jr. should have picked up a world title. Big Fella 186. Canelo will be a huge signing for DAZN. Will his fights be shown on Sky for free, Eddie? Just a bunch more complimenting Eddie. Nothing great here. Times Square with 2 champions of the world. And this was Tommy Coyle. Times Square with 2 champions of the world. And he tweets out a picture of himself with Canelo and Rocky Fielding. I don't know when that happened. I fancy Fielding to pull off a shock here. The size difference is huge. Go on, Fielding, knock this Mexican out. That came from Sammy Boy 88. Andy Clark, Mr. Andy Clark, watching Crawford versus Benavides. I don't think I've ever heard of such one-sided commentary. To describe it as a love-in wouldn't even begin to describe it. Incredible stuff, and not in a good way. Mr. Andy Clark is one to talk, I believe. He got ratioed there. Here's somebody doing a fantasy fight. Sorry, but I got to go with Bernard Hopkins on this one against Canelo. And then Warazai responds, saying Canelo's power stops Bernard and ends the fight in the 8th. That was submitted by Brian King. It's Belly of the Week. What an asshole. Somebody's talking about another DAZN card, decent card, 2 world title fights and a good global presence. Will be interesting to see how Frank Buglione can come back and how good Zhang really is. Looking forward to it. Just more Eddie Hearn licking.
Eddie Hearn must have the cleanest arse in boxing, by the way. The amount of people that lick it. Talking about his arse, by the way. See when he Eddie Hearn scanty day, that was fucking quality.
It was shown to all of us. Here's one from you, Andy. You submitted Thurman slagging Crawford, saying he's barely a champion. Actually went over this at the beginning of the show. Mm-hmm. Thurman is barely a fucking fighter these days. Never mind a wee belt anyone fake belt holder. How's that a Scottish accent, you tosser? That's what you get because you didn't read it out yourself. That's about all we got from Steve. Oh wait, we got one more. Ian Robert Langmaid goes to said this to Dave the White Rhino Allen. I see you as a heavyweight version of the much missed Arturo Gatti, a charismatic, big-hearted comeback fighter. Ian Robert Langmaid.
That's up there.
That was submitted by at Roy Sayas Nomis, friend of the pod. Thank you.
Say no more. What again? Jeez.
All right. So, any other nominations from the panel?
Yes, Carol Froch for the pound for pound interview. They said Froch said before his fight with Booty was stripped of the ring title because it was given to Ward after he won the Super 6. Froch said he was a lineal ring belt holder.
That never happened.
I know it never happened. Froch just make up as he goes along.
That's complete garbage.
I know.
I love watching that fight. Oh, I love watching that Warren Froch fight. I watch it like once every 2 months just to cheer me up.
Eddie Hearn, of course, for getting scanted. See if I was Tommy Coyle, I'd actually held. He stripped him right down to the ankles. Now I'd actually held onto his shorts so as he walked forward, he'd have tripped and just pulled the shorts right off and just so I could run about like a trophy. And that, eh?
He was raging as well.
He was.
Why was he wearing no panties? That's the real question.
In the gym, he was in the gym apparently, but he was raging, like proper raging. One came in for at Pappy 4 SPOTY, which basically means Sports Personality of the Year, right? So Dave Allen for Sports Personality of the Year, he actually sends a tweet to Gabby Logan and Claire Baldwin. How about getting Dave Allen on the BBC Sports Personality of the Year show? He is what it's all about, a true personality living his dream, and how could you resist this, right? It's a picture of him with his fucking Calvin Klein red panties on, with his socks punted right down the front of his tadger, so it looks like he's got a big rhino cock, eh? So that's the ones that I've got this week. But if I'm going to get pushed for a... what about the carry on at Frank Warren's show last night?
Yeah, that
Were
was
there
Battles
cups of
outside.
piss because no one could get into the bathrooms?
Nah, no, there was battles in the crowd and stuff like Mike Goodall shouting across the tannoy. You need to sit down and stuff like you know it's bad when Mike Goodall's screaming, with a live broadcast, sit the fuck down.
I also saw the video of here comes the cavalry. One of the guys one of the people not boxing names tweeted a video of 40 cops just marching into the place.
See, that's the thing too with the Brit cops that you Yanks are pussies. That you see the Yanks would just walk in with fucking machine guns and fucking handguns and that. Our cops just walk in fucking piss pot and a baton and some fucking CS gas and that's it. Eh?
I blame Sadiq Khan.
Aye, well, there was no life.
Hey, we're all inclusive here on the pod, and we don't subscribe to any views about anything.
But I mean, to be fair to Sadiq Khan, I mean the other side isn't much better. They all suspended the funding. Well, I'm not going to talk about.
Where's Wellings when you need him? Fucking hell! What was I going to say?
Save us from this madness. Hey, Gabe, save us from this madness.
No, I was going to give a nomination to Gervonta Davis for this week. He claimed on Twitter that he's an all-round better fighter than Terence Crawford. And,
I saw that. Yeah.
And as well as that, he said he wants to genuinely kill people in the ring, which I mentioned earlier. And it seems like Andre Ward's, after taking some exception to Davis, he's not naming him, but he was like top bad habits for any fighter: putting drugs or alcohol in your system, gaining 20 to 30 pounds between fights, only training when you have a fight, believe in your own hype. There's always more work to do, and loving the nightlife. And I wonder who we could be talking about there. So it seems to be a lot going on. Oh yeah, and a nomination for Floyd for being the most petty lunatic on planet Earth. He posted an Instagram the easiest fight of my life. I beat him easier than I beat Conor McQuitter, and he's even way better fighter than Canelo. And then said I made 300 million in 2 fights, bitch. So who's really winning? And then went on to post a picture of Oscar in the fist nets, and he said, post the most disrespectful caption you can think of, but not remembering that Mayweather is that petty that he already has his comments switched off, so nobody can comment even if they wanted to. So just for a guy with that amount of money who's already shopping as this Khabib fight, he's been over to Dagestan, and he's lining up Baby Bro for the Pacquiao fight to see what Pacquiao looks like. If he sensationally whoops Adrian Broner's ass like he would expect him to, then he makes that fight more interesting, and that's happening with Pacquiao signing to Heyman. So unfortunately, we're going to see this version of Floyd back. The old Floyd, I would have had him all day, even when he was on his kind of retirement Showtime run. I thought some of the stuff he was doing in the ring was incredible. Do I want to see him out at 42 years of age, fucking with this bullshit high-paid athlete war between him and Canelo? Hell fucking no. Do I want to see him posting shit about Oscar? I don't want to see that Oscar photo anymore. Right, that photos will be off the internet now. They've got enough advances in technology. Get that out of here. I don't want to see that anymore.
Get the EU to ban it. They're banning memes.
Here we go again. So yeah, they're my nominations.
I don't actually mind seeing Floyd continue to fight, because eventually some bum is going to catch him.
He's going to get knocked out at some point. For what I'm hearing, he's not even cashed a check yet for a McGregor fight, because IRS is on his ass for like $33 million.
Yeah.
So his lawyers apparently kind of got a motion to have that money withheld, so he's not been paid it yet. But he's still flying. I mean, put it this way, right? I was listening to someone. It's a true comment. Why spend $150,000 or whatever it is to hire a fucking private jet, right? When you could pay $1,500 to fucking fly first class. I mean, where's the business sense? I mean, he talks about he's like this businessman and he's got all this fucking money. I'm sorry, but you're spending $150,000 per time to fly a fucking private jet, or just to hire it for a day. Are you fucking serious? You expected to actually be to live in clover for the next how many decades if he's fucking spending that shit?
And as well as that, I remember him saying that his budget was set up for allowing him to spend 6 figures a month. But if you're taking a private jet, that 6 figures is burning pretty quickly. And Oscar did make a good point about it during the week. He said, he's back, he's broke back because Tyson lost 500 million. You don't think this guy could lose it? You know what I mean? And it's sad, in a way, his ego could be his downfall, because he should be living it up just forgetting about boxing, like not worrying about who's going to be the highest paid at.
It's got so bad actually that the IRS were actually trying to force him to liquidate property and cars and jewellery to pay them off.
Yep.
Stick with Pacquiao too.
I think he's addicted to the lifestyle now. He's going to do whatever he can, even if it means getting back in the ring when he probably shouldn't, to maintain the lifestyle, maintain the possessions. And eventually, even those will probably have to go too. I mean, we've seen it before with so many fighters. It's just a sad story. What the hell is Ellerby doing?
People should start asking the questions too. Then, if he's going to come back, what's with the therapeutic use exemption? Like, don't let him off the media. Just
his legacy could be seriously tarnished in the next couple of years.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, like, why are we letting a guy come back to the sport where there was big question marks at the last, and just not asking the question? All right, in the McGregor fight, it's not really a sanctioned world title fight or whatever. Like, the two of them are probably doped up to the eyeballs. But don't tell me that Floyd needs a rehydration to fight a fella that he's already smaller than. Like, it's a joke, and he's been on record talking about those vampire facials that Armstrong was receiving. Like, so people should start asking questions if he's coming back. And I'm wondering how he's 42 years of age looking like he looks like. You know what I mean? He's not Superman either. Like, he's a great fighter, but we have to start asking these questions. Like,
there's 2 gallons. It looks like Gabe has muted himself again. So let's take the vote.
Sorry, I'm back.
Oh, he's back. Okay.
Go ahead. You got it.
Spencer X for me. Spencer X for me.
Who else is going for Spencer X?
Yeah, I'll go for Spencer. That was a bad one, Nick.
Make it 3.
I'm going against. I'm saying the guy who said Dave Allen was like Arturo Gatti.
Oh, yeah, that's fucking brilliant too, though. I know that's pretty good as well.
Okay, so that guy who I can't remember his name, and I'm not going to bother looking it up. He's irrelevant. He's going to get a vote of honor from Ozzy. I'm going to go with Spencer X, who's going to win by 5 votes, 4 votes to 1 today. Congratulations, Spencer X. You are this week's Speddy of the Week winner. We'll have that trophy for you. Remember, only 5-star reviews are acceptable in the month of October, and make sure and hit that like button on YouTube.
Value himself should have probably got a mention as well for wanting to stone all the drug cheats to death, but then saying Billy Joe Saunders didn't do it because he just took a nasal spray. What's the matter with you? Well, he wouldn't do it. I know him, so I know he's not a drug cheat. You know what I mean?
This is hardly the first time Belly's been hypocritical on that issue, hasn't?
We'll see how will he fight on the zone now that Eddie has signed Canelo, who failed a drug cheat test that he wanted banned for life. Will he stand by his morals now and refuse to fight under such an organization?
Well, yeah, he's basically like Eddie Hearn's sidekick in a lot of ways this year in terms of promotion. He goes out of his way to like share out the information on other fights that he's not involved in. It won't be long till he's bigging up the Fielding Canelo fight, putting out tweeting out pictures about it.
I know you can do it, Rocky. And as well as that, something has to be asked as well. We've kind of forgot to give a belly of the week. What the fuck is going on with David Hay and Derek Chisora? Is that just a way to hype the Chisora fight? Eddie, are they all in bed together on some kind of contrived business deal? How is this an interesting angle? He's looking forward to taking Derek Chisora to the top. To the top. He's fucking 40 years of age.
Are they making that rematch with Hay and Chisora?
No.
No. Like, what's the story here? Oh, they once were. It's like Apollo Creed and Rocky. Like, what is this? Like, what are we seeing here? Like, I don't know. What's the benefit to David Hay? This like, other than a few quid on the short end for this white fight? Like,
it's really, really odd because Steve Goodwin has done an excellent job with Derek Chisora. Real good job. Because what we've got to remember is Chisora went to Monaco last year and put in an absolute horrendous display and lost for that European title against Caballel. And I think it's fair to say that no one really cared about him coming back. He then got in the Takam fight on the Joshua card, I think it was. And he produced an excellent display, which fair play to Goodwin because he could have easily been sacked off Chisora after that European title display. They're then negotiating for obviously this Dillian White fight in December, and next thing that comes out, Del Boy is no more. It's Derek War Chisora, and he's signed with David Hay as a management contract, which Chisora gains nothing from it because a manager will not pay the fighter, and Goodwin is one of the best in the business. So unless Hay can somehow do something, but saw an interview where Chisora's demands now for the White fight have massively gone up. So whether that's Hay trying to earn a few quid from getting more cash in for Chisora,
but I wonder, is that part of the script? Like, are they going to be like some kind of Batman and Robin together at the press conference now? You know, flipping the tables over with Dillian. Oh, Dillian will make it about David. David will swing on Dillian. Oh, Jesus Christ, we're all out for this pay-per-view. That seems to be the only kind of logical reason that you bring in David Hay at this stage. Like you said, he's giving up his money. He's going to make that pay-per-view fight anyway. What's he want to give David Hay 20% of it for? Like, unless he can make it 20% bigger. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
well, the storyline is not going to happen. That Chisora's demands are too high, so they're going to look elsewhere, which means it's going to be Luis Ortiz or Dominic Breazeale. But I think White Ortiz and White Breazeale are real difficult sells. I don't think the pay-per-view fights, to be honest, at all.
So it's certainly a tricky night for him. I'd favour Ortiz to beat him. Like,
oh yeah, definitely too right.
But and I don't know about the other one. Like, but it might be closer with Breazeale. He's come on a little bit, but like, yeah, fuck. Like, if they don't make that fight, then we're going to see the winner of possibly two fellas who've already been beaten by Joshua, fighting Joshua again in April.
Yeah, exactly. Just before we go out, I know I mentioned it a few times, but there's some decent prices betting wise next weekend. Huey Fury 13-10 to beat Kubrat Pulev. I think that's a decent price. I actually quite favour Fury in that fight. Terry Flanagan, like I mentioned, 7-1 to beat Regis Prograis. I think he's a much more of a live dog than a 7-1 shot.
I agree. That's a good bet. And
then the prices aren't out yet for the Copper Box show next weekend. But I'll definitely be on the Ryan Doyle train. Won the podcast and the listeners a lot of money last time. And I've got a feeling the bookies may have it priced in favour of Doyle for the betting people. So looking at that one. And I'll also have a look at a couple of other fights as well. Cheeseman and I forget one of the other ones on there as well. So I'll tweet them out. But definitely Fury and... But bet of the week probably is Flanagan at 7-1. I just think the value's there for a guy which I think is a close fight. Certainly not a 7-1 shot.
All right, you guys heard it. Place your bets. I was just told you where to do that. If anybody doesn't have anything else, time to sign off. Let's go for it then. So this has been episode 296 again of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. We got Andy Patterson, Stalwart, Rob Kelhefe Kelly, Hater Dave Loback, and Oz. Had a few other guests on. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Stay caught up with the news. Send us any good Bellews of the week. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and get in on the bonus content, punches from the past, and any other bonus content that we decide to upload there.
Patreon.com, baby, // Boxing Asylum. Get on it.
There's a Foreman fight coming out soon as I get off my ass and edit it. By the way, today we had a unusual broadcast thanks to our friend of the pod, Ben Faruqi, handles our technical stuff, and today he let us use his BNTV channel. So give him a subscription. He's a good fellow. Hopefully we'll be back to normal next week with the typical Boxing Asylum YouTube channel.
And the one and only Steve fucking Wellings. Have a good evening, guys. Thanks for listening.